Chapter 735. An assault boat slowly approached the pier in the dark. Liu Xinnan was dumbfounded. On the pier, there was a row of military assault vehicles as if they were waiting for Liu Xinnan and the rest to come ashore. "We're finished," Liu Xinnan wanted to cry. The assault boat's fuel had already been used up. If they did not come ashore, they would die. Li Fan still did not show any signs of waking up. He sure had it easy on this escort trip. Although she knew that it was not Li Fan's fault, this scene still made Liu Xinnan so anxious that she wanted to cry. The Demon King took out a Gatling gun from his canvas bag and placed it on the assault boat as he stuffed the ammunition inside. Kill. The Demon King's eyes were red as he prepared to kill to his heart's content tonight. Sun Qingchen held his hand. "Don't be anxious. Something is not right." "What's not right?" Sun Qingchen passed the binoculars to Liu Xinnan. The latter picked it up and looked towards the pier. All of the government soldiers were lying in a pool of blood. Each of them had a flying knife in between their eyebrows. Yin Tiantian stood on top of a military vehicle with a flying knife in her hand as she looked into the distance. She finally saw the assault boat and saw Liu Xinnan and the rest. She happily waved at them. Luckily, Liu Xinnan let out a sigh of relief. When did Li Fan arrange for Yin Tiantian to clean up the battlefield? Boss has always been meticulous. Sun Qingchen muttered in his heart. After following Ling Tian for so long, the boss naturally learned to be more quick-witted. Ling Tian's way of doing things could only be described with one word: cautious. The assault boat slowly docked. All of the enemies on the pier had been killed. "You guys are finally back." After the boat docked, Yin Tiantian said sweetly, "I have waited for you guys for a long time. You're back. Quickly return to the hotel. The return boat would only arrive tomorrow." Liu Xinnan ordered. "What's wrong with brother Li Fan?" Yin Tiantian saw the unconscious Li Fan and immediately asked. "He consumed too much of his true qi and fell asleep. He'll probably need to sleep for a period of time." "Ah, then during this time, leave big brother Li Fan's safety to me." Just as Yin Tiantian said that, someone suddenly extended a gun from the corner and fired at Li Fan. Murong Ying appeared again. She held the lion face shield and blocked the bullet. Clang! With a crisp sound of impact, the bullet fell to the ground. "Sniper!" The devil incarnate was taken aback. At the same time, Murong Ying grabbed a golden spear with her right hand and threw it in the direction of the bullet. Pu! The spear instantly pierced through the man's head and nailed him to the container behind him, his body dangling from the container. This time, Murong Ying, who was wearing the golden flying lion armor, did not disappear. Instead, she chose to stand beside Li Fan and protect him. "How dangerous." Yin Tiantian breathed a sigh of relief. "It seems that I'm still a bit immature. It's okay. Li Fan has the life of a cockroach. He won't die." Liu Xinnan comforted Yin Tiantian. She was also a bit tired. Today's harvest was still good, but the fright was not small. The few of them commandeered a military Iveco and drove all the way back to the hotel. Along the way, Murong Ying still guarded Li Fan, not leaving him an inch. The others simply did not care anymore. In any case, this woman was Li Fan's good person card. She was definitely responsible for protecting him. Li Fan was left in the room and continued to sleep. Meanwhile, Murong Ying had been standing next to him with a sword in one hand and a shield in the other. She did not move at all, as if she was a statue. This night was not peaceful. When dawn came, Li Fan still did not wake up. It was Yin Tiantian who carried him out. Murong Ying still guarded Li Fan, without any intention of leaving. It's already been a day. Seeing that Murong Ying was still there, Putty could not help but be surprised. This is really inconceivable. This good person card needs to consume mental power. How much mental power would be needed for one night? The changes in Li Fan's body had already exceeded Putty's imagination. Luckily Li Fan has a kind nature. If his heart was not right and wholeheartedly did evil, omit her, this is really unimaginable. Putty secretly rejoiced, thinking that the entire pugilistic world was too lucky. "This time we will not take a boat," Liu Xinnan said to them. "Change to a private plane and take off from the island's private airport." "Okay." The devil incarnate understood Liu Xinnan's meaning. Last night's adventure on the sea was enough to make them shudder with fear. Right now, flying home in the sky seemed to be a bit safer. Seems like it's not easy to travel. Sun Qingchen went out to look around before walking back with a black face. We have been surrounded. What? The devil incarnate pulled open the curtains, pushed open the window by the side and looked outside. Bang! A bullet hit the wall by the side, scaring the devil incarnate into lowering his head and shrinking his neck. Damn it! The devil incarnate almost vomited blood. Are you for real? Outside is practically the entire island's army. Damn it, what the hell is going on? Liu Xinnan picked up a small mirror and looked outside. There was a huge crowd outside. The island's army seemed to be gathered here. They probably treated this as a terrorist base. No wonder they couldn't find the hotel staff early in the morning. It seems like all of them ran away. But when they ran away, the hotel's defense system was still open, thus the army outside did not come in for a while. Although it is the army, the military strength on this island is very poor and there are no powerful soldiers. There wasn't even a single tank on the entire island. There were only a few armored vehicles there to support the situation. The island's army commander sits in an armored vehicle and looks angrily at the adjutant beside him. Damn it, so many troops and they can't even deal with a hotel? Lord Commander, we can flatten this hotel. But the defense system is still open. If we force our way in, I'm afraid our injuries will be very deep. At that time, we will lose 800 of our own men. It is too disadvantageous for us. The adjutant was telling the truth. The commander thought for a moment and asked. What about the Storm Mercenary Group? We have spent money, why are they still not sending out their troops? The last time they were able to overthrow the old government, it was this group of people who hired the Storm Mercenary Group to help. The commander does not want his own soldiers to die. Spending money to hire people to fight seems to be more cost-effective. They will arrive in 20 minutes. The adjutant looks at the time. Once they arrive, the hotel's defense problem will be solved. Not bad. The commander nods his head in satisfaction. Get rid of these resistance army and tell everyone that this island belongs to us. Chapter 736. The government was supported by the Philippines, and their goal was to take control of this island. The Philippines had secretly provided them with some weapons and funds. The Tri-Army commander felt sorry for his subordinates. He used to be the boss of a mercenary group, but he was hired by the Philippines and became the military representative of the new regime. In order to ensure his strength, he spent money to hire the Storm Mercenary Group to help him get rid of these damn rebels. Under the ardent expectation of the Tri-Army commander, a tank, 3 mechs, and a military truck slowly drove over. In the military truck, there were a total of 20 Storm mercenaries. Each of them were elites and experts in killing. The Tri-Army commander spent a large sum of money to get rid of this so-called rebel base. Storm Mercenary Group. Sun Qingchen and the rest had already set up the periscope. Through the lens, they saw a group of war machines outside. The demon incarnate was shocked. Damn, this group of people is really generous. They even invited Storm. The infamous Storm Mercenary Group. Liu Xinnan frowned. This time, it seems bad. Counter soldiers with arms, water with earth. The demon incarnate began to load the RPG. Although he was shocked, he did not show any fear. At most, I will just send them a big one. The demon incarnate was annoyed. If I knew this would happen, I should have brought a nuclear bomb. Damn, do you think you are a terrorist? Sun Qingchen rolled his eyes at the demon incarnate. The most important thing now is to escape. Subhuti, can you escort us out? Amitabha, this poor monk is not afraid of these people. Subhuti stood there with his hands clasped together. But with so many enemies, I am afraid I can't protect you all. That's true, there are so many of us. Subhuti is the only monk, he can't protect us all. Don't you still have me? Yin Tiantian volunteered and shouted. You are still not enough. You have enough offense, but not enough defense. Subhuti said hurriedly. He glanced at Murong Ying, who was standing next to him. In his heart, he murmured to himself, If only these two sisters could help us out. Such a pity, such a pity. Subhuti felt a little regretful, while Sun Qingchen found a hotel map from God knows where and was studying it. This kind of fortress-like hotel should have an escape route. Sun Qingchen looked at the map and studied it in detail. Why are you looking for a passageway? If it were up to me, we'd just fight our way out. The devil's incarnation patted his chest. Let this daddy blow a path of blood for you first. With that, the devil incarnate tore open his shirt, revealing a circle of detonators tied inside. You better behave yourself. Sun Qingchen was almost angered to death. This fellow is too impatient. He's really a devil incarnate. Let's use the tunnel. Liu Xinnan chose a path. It's safer this way. As long as we reach the airport, we'll win for sure. Sure. Sun Qingchen pointed at the map. According to the map, there is an underground tunnel at the parking lot that leads to the highway outside the city. Parking lot? Liu Xinnan looked at the map. It's outside the hotel. Yes, it's not difficult. Sun Qingchen quickly gave them a mission. Subhuti, go attract their attention. The few of us will wait for you to attract their attention before walking to the parking lot. This penniless monk has become a sacrificial lamb. Subhuti blinked his eyes. Yes, I feel that you should be called a great warrior. Sun Qingchen said, you will definitely perform well. Sun Qingchen said in his heart. You are a human-shaped meat shield. Amitabha, if I don't enter hell, who will? All right. The rest of you follow me. Sun Qingchen picked up the two Uzi assault rifles and walked out of the room. The storm mercenaries had arrived. A tank was parked outside with its cannon aimed at the hotel. Fire. Under the command of the commander, the tank fired a shot. Boom. A corner of the hotel was immediately blasted and the building trembled. At this moment, Liu Xinnan and the others were already waiting in the hall with their men. Another shot. The commander was very excited. This tank's long-range attack completely countered the hotel's defense system. Looks like there is no need to use these three mechas anymore. He had spent so much money for nothing. What a waste. The commander was already very confident. As long as this wave of resistance army was wiped out, the entire island's resistance army would cease to exist. As the saying goes, kill the chicken to warn the monkey. The tank was reloading and the cannon moved slightly, aiming in another direction of the hotel. Boom. The cannon shot out and flames burst out. But after the flames dissipated, the hotel was safe and sound. A bald monk stood there with his palms together. His kasaya was in tatters from the explosion. Amitabha, Subhuti, under everyone's astonished gazes, slowly said, fellow benefactors, would it be possible for us to have a calm and peaceful chat? Kill him. After a brief chat, the commanding officer fired another artillery shell at body. Subhuti stretched out his palm and used his palm to block the cannon. With a boom, flames shot out in all directions. But Subhuti was still fine and his palm was still emitting black smoke. Amitabha. Can't we have a good chat? Benefactors. Subhuti said with some heartache. Buddha is merciful. He is willing to give everyone a chance to live. This fellow is strange. Kill him. Kill him. The commander felt a wave of panic. He immediately ordered the storm mercenaries to focus fire on the monk. 3 mechas ejected missiles and fired at the monk. Dozens of satellite missiles flew out and drew a few arcs in the air before landing on Subhuti's body. Boom. 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 The missiles kept exploding, hitting Subhuti's body one after another. However, Subhuti was unmoved. He was like a Vajra. The missiles did not cause him any damage at all. It looks like reasoning won't work. Subhuti sighed as though he was very disappointed. The commander's heart raced. Who was this person? What was his body made of? Even missiles were ineffective against him. Actually, Subhuti had his limits. His body was also consuming a large amount of quintessential chi to withstand such attacks. Subhuti was not invincible. When he ran out of quintessential chi, his invincible body would be broken. At that time, he would be no different from an ordinary person. One shot would be enough to take his life. After these few rounds of attacks, Subhuti's quintessential chi had been depleted quite a bit. But he persevered. He persevered until Liu Xinnan and the rest escaped. Subhuti's existence was to attract firepower. Chapter 737. At this moment, Sun Qingchen is leading Liu Xinnan and the rest to leave from the hotel's side door and run towards the parking lot. Subhuti was like a large light bulb, and she was very reliable. The parking lot is just in front. Let's go. Sun Qingchen used a suppressed submachine gun to deal with two soldiers and stood at the door and waved at Liu Xinnan and the rest. Liu Xinnan and the rest immediately followed. Yin Tiantian is carrying Li Fan. Although she is a girl, because she is a martial artist, it is not strenuous for her to carry Li Fan. Furthermore, Yin Tiantian seems to be a bit happy to be able to help her big brother Li Fan. Just when they are about to pass through a small path in the back garden and enter the parking lot, Murong Ying suddenly turns around and raises the flying lion shield in her hand. Dang! A sniper rifle bullet hit the shield and embedded itself in it. Be careful, it's a sniper. They found us. Sun Qingchen immediately hides behind the corner. The rest of them also shrink behind the wall at the side and do not dare to show their heads. Yin Tiantian, can you find the opponent's position? Liu Xinnan subconsciously asked. Can't find. Although Yin Tiantian is a knife-throwing expert, she is clearly a bit weak in this aspect. There are about two positions. The Devil Incarnate is a sniper expert. He pulls open the bolt of his 38 style rifle and checks the bullet inside. One more shot and it will be his death. Just as he finished speaking, the opponent fired another shot. It seems like he wants to kill Li Fan. Murong Ying raises her shield again and blocks this bullet. The Devil Incarnate immediately stands up, raises his 38 style rifle and fires a shot at the roof of a building far away. Bang! A gunshot is heard as a man's figure falls from the roof. But at the same time, their position is also exposed. Quickly leave this place. Sun Qingchen's expression was ugly. Although he killed the enemy sniper, the gunshot had undoubtedly attracted the troops over. Just as Sun Qingchen had expected, when the storm mercenaries heard the gunshots, they immediately gave up on attacking Subhuti. 2 of the 3 mecha came over, followed by 10 fully armed mercenaries. Let's go. Sun Qingchen took out 2 submachine guns and shot at the government troops that were rushing over while bringing Liu Xinnan and the rest to the parking lot. Sun Qingchen's spear art is superb. When an enemy just revealed his head, he killed him with a single shot. However, more enemies were rushing over. The Devil Incarnate took out a Gatling gun from behind his back and held it in his hand. He moved slowly while shooting, causing bullets to rain down on the enemies. Many enemies were suppressed to the point of shrinking their heads, not daring to step forward. Even if there were 2 mechas, they wouldn't dare to take the Gatling gun's bullets head-on. However, at that moment, the tank turned its barrel and aimed at the direction of the corridor. Just 1 shell would be enough to kill everyone who was heading to the parking lot. Subhuti was shocked. He wanted to rush back, but it was too late. The tank had already fired. Boom! A cannonball flew out, exploding into raging flames. Murong Ying raised her shield and stood in front of them. Her defense is not as strong as Subhuti. After this shell landed, many cracks appeared on Murong Ying's shield and it would shatter at any moment. 1 more shell and Murong Ying probably wouldn't be able to withstand it and would be blasted into pieces. However, at this moment, Li Fan suddenly woke up. He stood up and gave himself a big stretch. So noisy. Li Fan said, "Why is it so noisy? Big brother, you finally woke up. Quickly help." Liu Xinnan shouted, and the tank fired another shot. Li Fan's martial artist's mental state immediately flared up. He immediately turned his head and pointed to the distance. Boom! The shell exploded in the air, and a black long sword stabbed into the tank's barrel, splitting the tank's barrel into 2. Why is it these guys again? Li Fan looked at the government troops and the storm mercenaries mixed among them. Even the storm mercenaries are here. Are they looking for me? No, they probably thought that we were the resistance army. Liu Xinnan whispered into Li Fan's ear, "These storm mercenaries were probably hired by the government to catch us all in one fell swoop." Interesting. Li Fan smiled. I will play with them. With that, Li Fan let Murong Ying continue to guard this side while he jumped towards the government troops. The government troops lineup is huge, but the Storm mercenaries are the only ones who are contributing. The commander was alarmed when he saw Li Fan. He ordered everyone to focus fire on Li Fan. But Li Fan did a swallow 3 times in the air, turning back and forth 3 times in the air, dodging those bullets. Li Fan jumped into the group of mercenaries. He raised his hand and slapped a mercenary. The mercenary's upper body directly exploded, turning into meat paste as he was blasted into dreg. Li Fan kicked another soldier's head. His head was sent flying. Blood spurted out of his body as he knelt on the ground. A mercenary aimed his gun at Li Fan. Li Fan crushed the gun barrel with one hand and used his other hand to pierce through the man's head. He then flung the corpse to the side. Li Fan charged into the crowd. His combat power was extremely strong. He was like a demon, destroying everything in his path. None of the mercenaries could withstand a single blow from him. 2 minutes later, a pile of corpses lay beside Li Fan. He was completely fine. 3 mechas surrounded him and aimed their 6-barreled machine guns at Li Fan. They rotated and fired at the same time. Bullets rained down. Li Fan's figure was torn apart, but it was only his afterimage. The real Li Fan was standing on top of a mecha. Li Fan raised his leg and kicked the mecha's cockpit. The cockpit was directly smashed. The pilot inside was turned into flesh and blood, splattering all over the cockpit. The other 2 mechas raised their machine guns and aimed at Li Fan. However, Li Fan flipped and landed on top of one of the mechas. He pulled up the 2 arms and aimed the guns at the other mecha. 2, 2, 2. Bullets sprayed out and turned the cockpit of the other mecha into a sieve. The pilot inside was dead. There was only 1 mecha left. Li Fan stretched out his hand and the black sword that was stabbed into the tank flew back into his palm. He shook it and it turned into a black spear. The pilot sat in the cockpit and pulled out his gun, preparing to shoot at Li Fan. However, Li Fan's spear was faster. It directly broke through the cockpit's glass and pierced the pilot's forehead. The pilot was nailed to death in the mecha. Almost in the blink of an eye, all the Storm mercenaries were killed by Li Fan. The remaining government soldiers were scared out of their wits. Chapter 738. Li Fan was woken up by the commotion. Now that he has vented his anger, he feels much better. Don't be afraid. He is alone. Open fire together and kill him. Kill him. Seeing that the mercenaries are all dead, the commander panicked. Where did the resistance army find such an expert? Is he a human? He should be a devil. All the government soldiers raise their guns and aim at Li Fan and start shooting again. Bullets keep shooting at Li Fan, chasing after Li Fan's figure. Li Fan grabs his black spear and jumps into the crowd of government soldiers. He does not care about the bullets. As long as he sneaks into the crowd of government soldiers, they will not dare to open fire. As he kills his way into the crowd, Li Fan is like a wolf that has entered a flock of sheep. He holds his black spear and shoots 1 soldier at a time, piercing through the hearts of the surrounding government soldiers. From time to time, Li Fan sweeps with his spear and cleaves a row of soldiers in front of him into 2. Their bodies are cleaved into 2, and their intestines and organs fly everywhere, scaring the soldiers out of their wits. After a few moves, the government soldiers no longer have any courage. Their attacks are completely ineffective, and this Chinese has already taken the lives of countless of their comrade. He is clearly a reaper on the battlefield. To deal with such an enemy, they can only use airplanes to bomb them. Retreat, retreat. The commander can tell that the situation is bad. This enemy is too strong. His army is not on the same level as him. It is impossible to deal with him without an airstrike force. Actually, even without the commander giving the order to retreat, these soldiers have already lost the courage to fight. All of them run very fast as if they wish they had 2 wheels on their legs. A bunch of cowards. Li Fan looks at the fleeing soldiers and crosses his arms as he sneers. With just these people, not to mention himself, even if Sun Qingchen, Devil Incarnate, and the rest were to join a team, they can launch an elite assault on them and beat them up. Li Fan slightly tilts his head and ponders. Do you want me to take over this island? Come on, you don't have time to manage it. Liu Xinnan rolled her eyes at Li Fan. If you want to be the owner of an island, find an island in the high seas, buy it, and do whatever we want. Okay, I hope to buy a small island where I can sleep peacefully. As Li Fan was speaking, the demon incarnate and Sun Qingchen walked over. Boss, I suggest we take this island. Sun Qingchen gave a suggestion. When I was bored yesterday, I contacted the resistance army on this island. It's a group of Northeasterners. They can cooperate with us. Boss, there's still some time before Murong's birthday. We can still do something. The Devil's Incarnation was also looking forward to it. This island is not bad. Why give it to the Philippines for nothing? Why not keep it for ourselves? I know a group of desperados who seem to have nothing better to do every day. Let them land on the island, set up camp here, and conquer the sky. You guys, wait a minute. Needless to say, the suggestion of these two really moved Li Fan. But with just their people, they might be able to conquer an island, but they might not be able to defend it. Li Fan thought about it and felt that he really needed a strong backing. Although this island is a bit far from City A, it's still quite convenient by sea. If he can't survive in China in the future, he would have a suitable retreat route. Attack and occupy this place. Li Fan felt that it was somewhat feasible. He took out his phone and called Liao Wushuang. What's the matter? Liao Wushuang went straight to the point and asked. You've been in Storm for so long. Do you know any other mercenaries? I need to hire some people to help me do something. Storm's people definitely won't do, but I do know a small mercenary group. They have a good relationship with me. Do you need them? Sure, let's do it. Li Fan nodded. He was going to place the Special Abilities Bureau's ship here. This island was much safer than Huaxia. China has no time to care about this small island in the Spratly Islands, and it's impossible for that dragon to set up a search network here. It's indeed a good choice. Okay, I'll take them there personally. What mission do they need to do? Help me conquer an island. I'm not kidding. I'll send you the coordinates. Tell them to come quickly. Li Fan put down Liao Wushuang's phone and brought it to Lingtian. Prodigy Security Company still has some newly trained security guards. They can be armed and sent directly to the island. They can be regarded as his personal guards. This island must have a core team belonging to him. Otherwise, if he really fosters a regime in the future, he will be screwed if he has no own people to use. Who wants to be king here? Li Fan asked around, but the others shook their heads. Although it's quite interesting to conquer an island. But no one wanted to be a king. With Li Fan around, who would dare to call themselves king? There has to be someone on the island to manage it. Li Fan couldn't help but smile bitterly. If you guys don't want to do it, then who will do it? You can do it yourself. Liu Xinnan said. Don't make trouble. I still have to be busy with China's affairs and go to school. How can I be a king here? Li Fan voiced out his thoughts. This place is at most my big back. I need someone to help me take care of it. By Lin Luo. Sun Qingchen gave Li Fan a good suggestion. He is more suitable to manage here. That's right. Li Fan couldn't help but nod. Little Four Eyes is meticulous. It's best to let him help me manage here. You talk so much as if the island has already been conquered. Liu Xinnan rolled her eyes. With Liao Wushuang and Bai Lin Luo helping me, there will be no problem. Li Fan smiled. We can leave normally. 3 days later, this island will have a new owner. Liu Xinnan looked at Li Fan. Do you want me to leave the Scarlet Dragon Archer Cavalry to you? No need. These are your personal guards. Keep them for your own use. Li Fan waved his hand. Believe me, the regime of this island is ours. Putty, you stay on this island and help Bai Lin Luo. Amitabha, very good. This poor monk will have a good discussion about Buddhism with the female benefactors on this island. Li Fan was speechless. Wait until Bai Lin Luo consolidates the regime, then come back. All right. After arranging everything, Li Fan left the airport in his private jet. A day after he left, Bai Lin Luo boarded the Special Abilities Bureau's tripod ship and docked at the island's dock. When Bai Lin Luo came down, Putty was already standing on the dock, putting his palms together and performing a Buddhist ritual. Amitabha, this poor monk has been waiting for a long time. Chapter 739. Bai Lin Luo was accompanied by Susu. As soon as the two arrived on the island, Susu couldn't help but be happy. The air here is so good. Whether it was the capital or the northern city of a city, the haze and pollution were relatively serious. But in this city on the island, the pollution was almost zero, and every breath of the air was sweet. Amitabha, I feel like I'm at home here. Putty's words made Bai Lin Luo roll his eyes. Fuck, I still have to conquer this place myself. Xiaohu. Bai Lin Luo ordered. Le Xiaohu leaped from the ship, turned around in the air, and landed next to Bai Lin Luo with ease. Chief, what can I do for you? Le Xiaohu's strength had obviously improved a lot compared to the last time he met Li Fan. Li Fan had already infused him with the strength of 3 tigers, and he was at the stage of perfection. Now, he relied on his own cultivation to reach the next level of strength. Even Li Fan would be envious of Le Xiaohu's speed of growth. Get ready to get to work. In the Special Abilities Bureau, the only effective combatants were himself and Le Xiaohu. Susu was a trump card against men, and it was a conditional attack. There were 2 women standing beside Le Xiaohu. One was Wang Xiaoyuan in a silver-white lion armor, and the other was the archer Liu Xinnan in a brown armor. The 2 of them, one on the offense and the other on the defense, were just enough to escort Bai Lin Luo. I have a good understanding of the situation on the island. After Bai Lin Luo landed on the island, he began to lay out the plan. At this time, a few more ships gradually approached the dock. One of them belonged to Phenom, a medium-sized passenger ship that Liu Xinnan had bought with her own money. 20 phenomenal security guards with loaded guns alighted from the ship, each of them armed to the nines. In order to occupy this island, Li Fan and Liu Xinnan had put in a lot of effort. Every Beyonder security guard wore a nano-battle suit developed by the United States. Not only did it have strong defense, but it could also support the user's body's abilities. All the Beyonder security guards were also wearing multifunctional glasses, strengthening their vision and information analysis abilities, increasing their reconnaissance abilities significantly. Liu Xinnan specially equipped them with the latest M4A1 and Colt pistols. In addition, tactical daggers and electronic grenades were naturally indispensable. Seeing such a team walk down, Bai Lin Luo felt a little relieved. At this time, another ship docked. The ship had a wolf's head logo on it. Then, a group of mercenaries with a wolf's head logo on their shoulders arrived. There were 15 of them in total. The leader of the group was a man with a white ponytail and a wolfskin hat. He looked very wild. He glanced at Bai Lin Luo, took out his phone, and looked at the photo again. Are you Bai Lin Luo? This guy was originally a foreigner, and now he was speaking English, so he opened his mouth and asked. Yes. Bai Lin Luo nodded. Who are you? Battle Wolf Mercenary Group, Captain Maximum. This guy was very capable. You can call me White Wolf. Is this the future commanding officer? Next to him was a sexy and enchanting silver-haired beauty. She was wearing a black wolf head military uniform and carrying an SVD on her back. This SVD was well maintained, and it was obvious that this silver-haired beauty was a gun lover. This was the deputy captain of the Battle Wolf Mercenary Group, Eva. To actually work with such a person, it's really depressing. Why did Liao Qianqian introduce such a job to us? Eva complained. It doesn't matter. No matter what kind of mission it is, we, Battle Wolf, can complete it. Next to him was a big blonde man with a resolute face. Everyone, this island will be ours from now on. Bai Lin Luo immediately threw out the bait to tempt these mercenaries. Even the mercenaries recommended by Liao Wushuang were the same. They would not get up early if there were no benefits. If there were no suitable benefits, they would not come out and risk their lives. It's not just yours, right? Just as Bai Lin Luo's voice fell, a man in a suit and leather shoes walked out of a van beside him. Although he was wearing a suit, he had a heroic aura. The president of the resistance army? Bai Lin Luo had already checked the information and could tell the man's identity with a glance. This president of the resistance army was about 40 years old. He was full of heroic spirit and did not have a trace of decadence. When Bai Lin Luo saw him, his heart was slightly worried. The Battle Wolf mercenary group was easy to deal with. They could be bought with money. As long as they were given benefits, they would be able to be used. However, this president of the resistance army was different. He was a person with great ambitions. Perhaps, after this island was taken from the hands of the government army, he would be the biggest threat. Mr. President, before the government army is defeated, everything is still empty talk. However, Bai Lin Luo was also an expert in negotiation. He immediately said, "On behalf of Phenomenal Corporation, I welcome everyone to discuss cooperation." Bai Lin Luo was Li Fan's full representative, so his words carried a bit of domineeringness. These people were not simple people. They were all dragons and phoenixes among men. If he wanted to suppress them, he must have a domineering aura. "This is not the place to talk," the president said with a smile. "I have already prepared a banquet for everyone. We await your arrival. As long as we have money, we have no problem." The leader of the Battle Wolf mercenary group, Max, said very honestly, "Let's talk first." Bai Lin Luo did not say anything else. He decided to find a place to talk first. Glass bar. There were not many entertainment facilities on the island. The bar could be considered as one, but it was a bit hidden. This glass bar was built in the basement of a glass factory. There were quite a few customers inside, and they all looked like people from the resistance army. A few members of the resistance army were drinking here. When they saw Bai Lin Luo and the others coming in, they all looked at them. When the president came in, the resistance army saluted him in unison. "It seems like this is your place." Bai Lin Luo only brought Wang Xiaoyuan with him. The others were waiting outside. Even Liu Xinnan from Sagittarius constellation stood at the door, holding a bow and arrow, guarding for Bai Lin Luo and the others. "Don't worry, they are only responsible for our safety." The president smiled. "We are on the same side, right?" "Yes." Bai Lin Luo said thoughtfully and looked at the president a few more times. "This president, I don't know what he is planning. Everyone, please come in." The president invited Bai Lin Luo and the others into a simple and crude VIP room. There were only 3 seats in the room. Bai Lin Luo, the president, and the leader of the Battle Wolf mercenary group, Max, all sat down. Wang Xiaoyuan stood beside Bai Lin Luo, Eva stood beside Max, and a bodyguard dressed in black stood beside the president. Although this place is a little shabby, at least we can have an open and honest discussion. The president looked at Bai Lin Luo and the others. "I want to ask, Mr. Bai, what do you want from this island?" Chapter 740. The president looked like he was very shrewd, but he asked a question straight to the point. "Since you asked, then I'll say it directly." Bai Lin Luo did not back down. "I want the control of this island. From now on, this island will belong to Li Director Bai. Isn't your appetite a little too big?" The president crossed his arms in front of him and asked, "Isn't it not good?" "President, it's like this." Bai Lin Luo smiled. "You should have seen our current armaments. In addition to us, there is also the Battle Wolves mercenary group. They were all hired by us. Also, our boss destroyed a government army by himself. You should know this kind of combat power. Without us, you and your resistance army will never win against the government army supported by the Philippines." The president looked at Bai Lin Luo a few more times. Although he was a little unconvinced, he had to admit that what Bai Lin Luo said was right. The current situation was just that awkward. The resistance army was so poor that they couldn't get any good equipment at all. But they were good at guerrilla warfare, but it was not painful. Other than giving the government army a headache, they did not have much influence. The president felt that it would not be long before the resistance army ran out of ammunition and food. "Cooperate with us. After we get the power, we will give you the authority of the resistance army guards." Bai Lin Luo already started to promise, "A good city will always need police. Although you can't be the president, you can be the garrison commander. Only the garrison commander? The president seemed to be hoping for more. It's already very good. You're basically getting it for free. Bai Lin Luo did not have the slightest intention of giving in. If you don't like it, you don't have to participate in our plan. Without your help, although it will take more time, we will still be able to deal with the government army. The reason why they wanted to bring the resistance army natives was Sun Qingchen's suggestion. Bai Lin Luo also felt that it was feasible. The resistance army was the original government and still had some prestige on the island. With their help, he would at least be able to stand on his feet in terms of morality. Even if they changed the government, Bai Lin Luo did not want the resistance army to continue to harass them. First, they needed to take over the government. Then, they needed stability, harmony, and recuperation. You can choose for yourself. Bai Lin Luo said, whether you participate or not, within 3 days, we will make the current government step down. The president believed that Bai Lin Luo was not bragging. He had the ability. As long as the boss behind him appeared, he could change the government by himself. That man was a little scary. I have no objections. The president had no reason to refuse, nor did he have the power to refuse. He needed Bai Lin Luo. Otherwise, they would forever be hated by everyone on this island. What about us? The leader of the battle wolves, Max, would ask questions when it was time to fight for his own interests. I'll give you command of a garrison. Bai Lin Luo said without any hesitation. This was also something that he and Liao Wushuang had agreed on before. You can expand your army to a maximum of 1 regiment. After that, you will have the right to command this army. I only need you to cooperate with me personally. At the same time, you must protect the safety of this island when needed. Sure. For a mercenary group, this was already a very good benefit. Max could see that Bai Lin Luo was sincerely discussing business with them. The job that Liao Qianqian introduced to him seemed to be quite good. Since none of us have any objections, let's sign this contract. Bai Lin Luo was well prepared. He placed the contract that he had already prepared on the table. The president and Max looked at it. There was basically no problem. Sign your names, and we will be comrades from now on. Bai Lin Luo continued to lead them. Everyone's interests are the same. After the president and Max signed the contract, Bai Lin Luo heaved a sigh of relief. No matter what, the first step was completed. At this time, the waiter who had been standing beside them and pouring water for them suddenly opened his lapel, pulled out 2 submachine guns, and aimed at Bai Lin Luo. The president was shocked. There was actually an undercover agent on his side. Eva had already pulled out a pistol in an instant and aimed at the opponent's head. But the person on the other side seemed to be well trained, and he was about to pull the trigger. At this time, Wang Xiaoyuan suddenly made her move. She directly threw out the round shield in her left hand, and the shield immediately cut off the opponent's head, causing blood to spurt out. The round shield was embedded in the wall at the back, and with blood, it was embedded there. Wang Xiaoyuan stood in front, blocking the blood for Bai Lin Luo. The other 2 were not so lucky, and their faces were splashed with blood. Mr. President, it seems that your resistance army is not a piece of iron. Bai Lin Luo's words were filled with ridicule. The president did not know what to say, so he asked the bodyguard in black to take out a handkerchief to wipe his face. This wave of strength slapping his face, it was too painful. It seems that the enemy is not easy to deal with. Max also wiped his face clean, and they actually obtained information about our gathering. They are somewhat powerful. My mistake. The president's face was gloomy. His own territory was actually sneak attacked. If it wasn't for the strength of Bai Lin Luo's bodyguard, he would have already been killed. If my guess is correct, the government forces should have already surrounded this place. Bai Lin Luo turned the gears in his brain. Let's go out and take a look. Sure, let's go out and take a look. The president knew that since Bai Lin Luo dared to say this, he must be prepared. Max didn't object, and the 3 of them, accompanied by their subordinates, came to the glass factory and looked outside. Many military vehicles were blocked here, and the secretary of the government forces personally rushed over to command the battle here on behalf of the president. The secretary was a senior agent sent by the Philippines, specifically to assist the new president in ruling this island country. There were 2 oil and gas fields near this island country, which was the reason why the Philippines had been secretly causing trouble. Once the regime was stable, they could naturally develop these 2 oil and gas fields. At that time, the oil and gas would be directly transported to the Philippines and become their resource. The people inside, listen up. The secretary held a loudspeaker and began to persuade them to surrender. You have been surrounded by the Third Army. Surrender immediately, or you will be killed on the spot. Starting the political propaganda. Bai Lin Luo sat on a chair on the 2nd floor and pointed at the secretary standing behind the explosion-proof shield. Shoot his loudspeaker, it's annoying to listen to. Max and the president both thought, what kind of material is this explosion-proof shield made of? Even a sniper rifle can't penetrate this shield. Does this Bai Lin Luo like to boast too much? Chapter 741. The secretary hid behind the explosion-proof shield with a smile on his face. Meanwhile, Liu Xinnan from the Sagittarius constellation had already drawn her bow and aimed at the secretary. This explosion-proof shield uses 30mm bulletproof glass. Even my SVD can only leave a mark. Eva looked at the explosion-proof shield and muttered. This explosion-proof shield is provided by the Philippines. Otherwise, how could they get such good equipment? The president was a little angry. If only China could support him from behind. China was so rich. If they provided some planes and tanks, wouldn't they be able to defeat the other party? The president was daydreaming while Liu Xinnan had already drawn her bow and arrow. Her bow and arrow were condensed from the power of her ability, and there was a pair of small wings on it. The bow and arrow were pulled to a full moon, and the pair of small wings had already spread out, as though it was about to fly. Swoosh! The bow and arrow shot out and turned into a lightning bolt, heading straight for the secretary. The secretary sneered. He hid behind the explosion-proof shield, and it was foolproof. However, the bow and arrow drew a beautiful parabola and shot down from above, directly blasting the megaphone. Fuck! The secretary was frightened out of his wits. There was actually such a move as a projectile. And they were so accurate. Who were these people? This time, it's just a warning. Bai Lin Luo sat there. Although his voice was soft, there was a loudspeaker that amplified his voice. Too arrogant. The secretary was furious. He felt that his authority was being challenged. Blow up their base. The secretary came out on behalf of the president, and he had a mission. He must not let the resistance army go. The 6 armored vehicles behind set up their turrets and aimed at the glass factory. Clear the target. Bai Lin Luo gave the order, and Max signaled his men. 6 mercenaries carried RPGs at the same time and fired. 6 missiles flew out and blew up the 6 armored vehicles, causing them to flip over. The secretary was stunned. What kind of firepower was this? Since when did the resistance army have such powerful firepower? Could it be that someone was supporting them from behind? The secretary was shocked. Before he could understand what was going on, an elite team of 20 people attacked from behind. These 20 people's marksmanship was godly, and they could knock down a government soldier with a single shot. When the government troops were about to attack them, the 20 of them immediately spread out and found cover. I'll kill you all. A government soldier with an RPG aimed at the bunker. A bullet suddenly pierced through his head. The RPG shell shot straight into the sky and exploded like fireworks. Eva adjusted her aim and aimed at the next target. The 2 brothers, Liu Qiong and Liu Zhuang, were also among them. As 2 valiant generals, the 2 of them shouldered heavy responsibilities. Although Sun Qingchen had taught them before in terms of spear techniques. However, both of them were Guan Wenbao's beloved disciples and preferred to fight. One of them was holding a tri-edge bayonet, while the other was holding a tactical dagger. Taking advantage of the chaos on the battlefield, they liked to sneak up behind others and stab them in the throat. The 2 of them were competing to see who could kill more people. The 2 of them tore apart the enemies with their bare hands and killed more than the others. Eva was a little shocked as she looked at the 2 red-eyed officers who had been killed. Isn't it crazy to use close combat to kill people on the battlefield? Most importantly, They killed more people than me, and I'm a sniper. Eva was a little unsatisfied. She continued to fire and madly swept the battlefield. Sagittarius Liu Xinnan had not made a move since she shot the loudspeaker. She and Wang Xiaoyuan stood on the left and right, guarding Bai Lin Luo like door gods. Bai Lin Luo glanced at Le Xiaohu. Xiaohu, it's time for you to get some exercise. Okay. Le Xiaohu nodded. He was still young and needed to baptize his body and mind on the battlefield. Although he was still young, Le Xiaohu's heart had grown a lot after experiencing some things. In the face of such a battlefield, he did not have the slightest fear. However, Bai Lin Luo still made him wear an extra bulletproof vest as an extra layer of insurance. Le Xiaohu stood on the window of the glass factory. He bent his knees and his whole body bounced out like a spring. Le Xiaohu's body was light. In the air, he performed Li Fan's best move, the swallow triple sweep. He swam 2 rounds in the air and fell into the enemy's group. Kill him. A group of government soldiers pointed their guns at Le Xiaohu and pulled the trigger. Bullets rained down on Le Xiaohu, but Le Xiaohu stayed close to the ground and crouched down. Like a tiger coming out of the mountains, he instantly avoided the bullets and jumped out. Le Xiaohu broke into the enemy group and stuck close to the government soldiers. In this way, the other government soldiers could not shoot him. Le Xiaohu's hands were like tiger claws. He was almost close to the ground, constantly tearing the enemy's calves. He still showed mercy and tore the enemy's calves to pieces, but spared their lives. Even if Le Xiaohu's martial arts were high, he was still young and could not bear to kill people. Seeing that Le Xiaohu, a teenager, was able to kill 7 enemies, Eva was even more surprised. What the hell is this kid? Did he take the angel medicine? What kind of experts are there in Prodigy? Retreat. Quickly retreat. The secretary already knew how powerful they were. No wonder the commander of the 3 armies lost so badly last time. No, now I must gather all the combat power to defend the presidential palace. The secretary let the remaining half of the army protect him and began to flee toward the presidential palace. No need to chase. Bai Lin Luo waved his hand, signaling for everyone to stop. No hurry to kill them, I like to negotiate first. The smile on Bai Lin Luo's face was unfathomable. Our combat power is enough to wipe them out, why do we need to negotiate with them? Max couldn't figure it out and directly asked. The war is your mercenary group's business. Bai Lin Luo explained, but the negotiation is my business. No matter what, this is a city, and there are many innocent people living here. If we continue to fight like this, they will definitely be hurt, so I hope we can resolve this peacefully. What is needed on the battlefield is not kindness. Max reminded Bai Lin Luo. Only those who are not capable enough will want to kill them all. Bai Lin Luo's words made Max speechless. Our leader is doing this for your own good. Eva stared at Bai Lin Luo, but Bai Lin Luo just smiled. Vice Leader Eva, I hope you pay attention to your attitude toward me. From now on, I am your superior. My superior is only Maximum. Eva pulled out a silenced pistol from her leg and pointed it at Bai Lin Luo. Bai Lin Luo showed no fear. Chapter 742. Eva. Max looked at Eva with his blue eyes, but he didn't stop her. Bai Lin Luo knew that Max was deliberately trying to embarrass him. This was a show of strength, waiting for him to make a fool of himself. Eva's muzzle was aimed at Bai Lin Luo, but Bai Lin Luo didn't show any fear. Wang Xiaoyuan picked up the shield, and Eva laughed. Do you think such a small shield can stop my bullets? Eva didn't put Wang Xiaoyuan's small round shield in her eyes at all, and couldn't help but mock. Do you think you're Captain America? Captain America relies on genes. Bai Lin Luo reminded Eva, I rely on superpowers. While speaking, Liu Xinnan had already pulled her bow and arrow. Eva didn't hesitate and immediately fired. She fired 5 shots in a row, hitting 5 places on Bai Lin Luo's body. It was impossible to block them with a small round shield. But Wang Xiaoyuan held the shield and moved to 5 places in an instant. In the midst of the sparks, the 5 bullets were all bounced off. At the same time, Liu Xinnan's bow and arrow also shot out. The arrow hit Eva's pistol and nailed it on the wall next to her. Eva, on the other hand, pulled out another pistol from her pocket, and Liu Xinnan's arrow was nailed to the ground at her feet. Enough, Eva. Max hurriedly stopped her. Stop it. Officer Bai has a good temper, and he won't stoop to your level. If it were me, I would definitely punish you according to military law. Max was now using words to stop Bai Linluo, but Bai Linluo didn't buy it. Deputy Commander Eva has no respect for her superior and disregards military discipline. She will be put in prison for half a month. Bai Linluo was already considered to be lenient, so Max couldn't say anything more and could only accept his fate. Although Eva was still a little unconvinced, 2 security guards from Phenom had already stepped forward and handcuffed her hands. Humph. Eva struggled twice, but it was useless. This. Officer Bai. I hope that a great person like you will forgive me. Watching Eva being pulled away, Max could not help but plead. At this time, the burly French Hercules bolt blocked the way of the 2 extraordinary security guards. At the same time, he stretched out his hand and picked them up. It was like picking up 2 chicks. Stop, Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt was a fierce general in Wolf Warriors. At this moment, his action of protecting Eva put Max in a difficult position. Usain Bolt was too big. As the saying goes, a strong body does not lose out. The 2 security guards struggled for a long time but could not escape Usain Bolt's grasp. Just then, Le Xiaohu walked back. When he saw Usain Bolt bullying his own people, he immediately snorted and walked over to Usain Bolt. Bolt glanced at Le Xiaohu and didn't take this young man seriously. He lifted his leg and kicked at Le Xiaohu. Le Xiaohu gently leaned to the side and avoided the strong man's kick. At the same time, his elbow smashed down and hit the burly man's calf. The burly man's calf cracked as his bones were fractured. Le Xiaohu took the opportunity to take a step forward and used Black Tiger climbing the mountain on the burly man who was falling towards him. After 3 moves, he pressed down on the burly man's head and slammed him to the ground. Usain Bolt fainted. Le Xiaohu clapped his hands and glanced at the mercenaries who were ready to make a move. The remaining mercenaries of Wolf Warriors were dumbfounded. No one dared to step forward and touch the bad luck. Although the Wolf Warriors mercenaries were elites and very united, the current situation was already very awkward. Everyone knew that Eva was helping Max to give Bai Linluo a show of strength so that the employer would understand the status of the Wolf Warriors mercenary corps. But now, not only did they not give a show of strength, they were even kicked by the horse. Max's expression was also very ugly, but he could not get angry. Bai Linluo's swift and decisive methods made him understand the gap between him and the other party. The Wolf Warriors mercenary corps had lost this game. From now on, he could only listen to Bai Linluo's commands. Officer Bai, you won. I admire you. Max bowed to Bai Linluo. Please forgive me, Officer Bai. All right, since we will be family in the future, I will not fuss over this small matter. Bai Linluo had a big stick in one hand and a sweet date in the other. He waved his hand, indicating that he let go of Eva. In the future, we will have to face a common enemy. I hope that Captain Max can help me. The warriors who went to the battlefield today have worked hard. Later, each of you can go and collect 20,000 yuan as a reward for winning the first battle. Thank you, Officer Bai. Max imitated the Oriental style and cupped his hands at Bai Linluo. He imitated it quite well. One look and it was obvious that he had studied it carefully. Susu. Bai Linluo turned his head and asked the beautiful Susu who was sitting at the side. What? Help me make a trip and contact the government army. Bai Linluo smiled. Tell them that we want to negotiate. Sure, let little tiger protect me. Susu agreed. On this side, Susu was basically Bai Linluo's left and right hand. Although he could summon some good Gaikard warriors, they did not have high IQ and could only carry out some simple orders. It was impossible to get them to negotiate. However, Susu was a little weak in terms of strength. She needed someone to protect her. Sure. Bai Linluo nodded and agreed to Susu's request. Eva, you go with Susu. Bai Linluo looked at Eva. It's up to you whether you can make up for your crime. Hurry up and thank the officer. Max hurriedly glared at Eva, and only then did Eva agree. "Thank you, officer," Eva shouted somewhat unwillingly. Bai Lin Luo waved his hand. "All right, go and rest for today. Tomorrow, we will negotiate with the government army. I think it won't be long before the government army comes knocking on our door." Bai Lin Luo gently stretched. After a day of torment, everyone should be tired. "Let's all rest. Are we going to use this place as our base?" Max asked. "Yes, the glass factory has a good geographical environment. It's good to make a headquarters. When the negotiation is over, we will go to the presidential palace." Bai Lin Luo's face was full of confidence, as if he had a card up his sleeve. The president only felt that this young man was a little unfathomable, as if he had everything planned out. "It's indeed not bad here." Bai Lin Luo took a deep breath. It's rare to breathe such comfortable air outside. When they were in China, Bai Lin Luo and the rest could only hide on the ship and rarely went outside. But on this island, the sky was high and the sea was wide, and the birds were free to fly. Moreover, there was a school on this island. Bai Lin Luo could go to school again. This was what made him the happiest. Chapter 743. To Bai Lin Luo, this place was like a paradise. A paradise for mutants. Bai Lin Luo stayed in the office, one hand on the prophet's skull, communicating with him. His mind was filled with the knowledge provided by the prophet, allowing Bai Lin Luo to constantly enrich himself. The prophet's knowledge was huge, which was like nutrition, making Bai Lin Luo hungry and thirsty, swimming in this sea of knowledge. The prophet was like an artificial AI, following by his side, helping him to find the content he wanted. Every time Bai Lin Luo communicated with the prophet, he could not help but have some philosophical questions. For example, who am I, where do I come from, and where do I go? The three philosophical questions, even the prophet could not answer Bai Lin Luo. Over time, Bai Lin Luo did not delve into these questions. This is the origin of the world. The prophet brought Bai Lin Luo to observe the origin of the entire earth. Wait. Bai Lin Luo could not help but have another philosophical question. Since there is an origin, then, does the human world have an end? Naturally. The prophet actually answered Bai Lin Luo. "Do you want to take a look? There really is. I want to take a look." Bai Lin Luo was very curious. The prophet pulled him up and directly traveled through time, arriving in the future. Bai Lin Luo stood on a tall building, looking at the city full of green vegetation. This city. How long has it been since anyone lived in it? Bai Lin Luo was very surprised. This city had been abandoned for at least 10 years. A long time. This place is just the beginning. The prophet said, because of a man, the entire world started World War III. A power even more terrifying than nuclear weapons swept the entire world. A power even more terrifying than nuclear weapons? Bai Lin Luo became suspicious. Is there such a power? Of course there is. For example, the power of us mutants, when stimulated to a certain extent, can surpass nuclear weapons. For example, if the creator obtained the power of Evil Demon Island, he could cause the entire world's people to have a mental breakdown. If that's the case, then are there still people left in this world? Yes. The prophet nodded. The originator of everything, the creator of the apocalypse, he alone owns the entire world. After the prophet finished speaking, he pointed into the distance. Bai Lin Luo turned his head and saw a man in a black and white coat standing on a building in the distance. This man's appearance was very familiar. It was Li Fan, the Li Fan from 10 years later. He was sitting at the edge of the building. He had a beard on his face, and he looked like he had been through a lot. Li Fan, Bai Lin Luo exclaimed. At this time, Li Fan suddenly turned his head and looked at Bai Lin Luo, who was floating in midair. "You came?" While Li Fan was talking, he somehow arrived in front of Bai Lin Luo. A pair of golden flying lion wings appeared behind Li Fan, allowing him to float in midair. You are, go back and stop me," Li Fan said and pointed a finger at Bai Lin Luo's forehead. Bai Lin Luo felt a sharp pain and suddenly opened his eyes and woke up. He was shocked to find that the prophet's skull in front of him had a crack on its forehead, and then it shattered into pieces. Oh no! Bai Lin Luo tried to pick up these pieces of bone, but as soon as he touched one of the bones, it turned into white ash and scattered everywhere. The prophet has completely disappeared. Bai Lin Luo actually felt a wave of fear. What is this situation? Just now in the world of the prophet's consciousness, he saw Li Fan. At that time, Li Fan was known as the destroyer of the world. Yet, he actually saw him and even talked to him. Most importantly, the prophet has disappeared. Everything that had happened was too strange. Bai Lin Luo felt that his brain was a bit inadequate, as if his ability to think had stopped. Just as Bai Lin Luo was unable to organize his thoughts, a knock came from the door. "Chief, the government's diplomat is here." "Got it." Bai Lin Luo patted his face to wake himself up a little. The disappearance of the prophet made Bai Lin Luo somewhat panic. However, he must suppress this panic at the bottom of his heart. He is the chief of the Special Abilities Bureau and the person in charge of this island, so he must stay alert. Bai Lin Luo adjusted his mood and opened the door. Susu stood outside, dressed in plain clothes, but it could not hide her beauty. With such a beauty by his side, Bai Lin Luo's heart had never been tempted. Because there has always been one person in his heart, and that is Liao Wushuang. "Let's go. Anyway, I'm just a representative of Li Fan." Bai Lin Luo said, "In terms of rank, it's not beneath me to meet this diplomat. By the way, call the president and ask him to meet this diplomat." "Okay." Susu nodded. The diplomat sat in the temporary living room of the glass factory. There was only a long, dilapidated table and broken chairs. The diplomat coldly snorted in his heart. These people probably got resources from somewhere and are just a bit arrogant. The government has the support of the Philippines behind them. With the support of a big country, how could these small characters fight against them? The Philippines has provided them with 2 excellent troops, which will arrive in a few days. At that time, it will be the death of these people. He came here to delay for a few days. As long as some conditions of these resistance forces are met, they will agree with a smile. Some greedy guys hope that they know what satisfaction is. Soon, a boy who looks like a high school student walked down. Beside him was a beauty and a familiar guy. It is the person they have wanted for a long time, the fake president of the resistance forces. At that moment, the diplomat wanted to pull out his pistol and kill him. But he resisted this impulse. After all, in order to show his sincerity, he did not bring a gun. "You are Bai Lin Luo?" The diplomat stood up and extended his hand, but there was some arrogance in his expression. "I am a diplomat from the Luofu government. My name is Parker. Hello, I am Mr. Li Fan's representative." Bai Lin Luo smiled and calmly sat in front of the diplomat. "Tell me, why are you here?" "Good, Officer Bai is really straightforward." The diplomat said, "I know you have some strength, but our government has the support of a big country. I think if you continue to fight with us, you will only die." "Really?" Bai Lin Luo smiled. "When did the Philippines become a big country? Behind the Philippines is the United States. Our weapons are the most advanced." Chapter 744. The diplomat's condescending attitude made not only Bai Lin Luo, but even the president was annoyed. These government troops were arrogant and preyed on the people. They should have been kicked out long ago. "Is that so?" Bai Lin Luo nodded. "All right then. Since the 2 sides can't come to an agreement, you can go back." Bai Lin Luo waved his hand. "Send the guest off." "Sir, please go back." Susu walked forward and gestured for the diplomat to leave. The diplomat was a little surprised. He didn't get up but looked at Bai Lin Luo. "Are you crazy? This is the only chance for you to survive. You don't cherish it. I think you're mistaken about one thing." Bai Lin Luo sat there calmly. "This opportunity is reserved for all of you." What a joke. The diplomat finally stood up angrily. "Looks like there's nothing to talk about. Tomorrow, the Filipino army will arrive. Then, it will be the death of you people. Filipino, how do you expect them to help you? Send out their air force?" Bai Lin Luo laughed. As far as I know, the Filipino Air Force is a training aircraft, right? Don't care what it is. We still have money. We can hire the Storm Mercenary Group. You know the Storm Mercenary Group, the world's most powerful mercenary group. They can destroy you scum in an instant. Alright, let's wait and see. Bai Lin Luo underestimated the arrogance of these government troops. Even at this point, after experiencing 2 crushing defeats, they still believed in their own combat power. If negotiations failed, then they could only use their fists. He couldn't cause trouble for Li Fan. He had to quickly solve the problem here. I look forward to a good night's sleep. When the diplomat left, he left behind some harsh words. I hope a bomb doesn't fall on your head while you sleep. Looks like they want to start a war. The president gave his opinion. Officer Bai, how do you plan to deal with it? My future garrison commander, what do you plan to do? Bai Lin Luo didn't answer and kicked the ball back to the president. With our armaments, it shouldn't be difficult to kill them in one go. The president said, while they are still waiting for foreign aid from the Philippines, we should attack overnight and completely recapture the presidential palace. Your method is very safe. It's not bad. Bai Lin Luo nodded. However, there is a very important loophole that you didn't take into account. Loophole? What loophole? Actually, to me, reclaiming this island is like playing a strategic game. Taking down the main base isn't a big deal. The key is that the enemy still has a sub-base that can provide combat power. Bai Lin Luo continued, if you want to fight, then beat them until they are completely convinced. I don't care about the foreign aid from the Philippines. I'll just wait for them to come over and I'll kill them all in one fell swoop. With our combat power, can we do all this? The president was a little worried. Although Bai Lin Luo's combat power was not bad, he was still unable to contend against a large country. Just watch. Bai Lin Luo was full of confidence. We still have one more combatant. He'll be here soon. With him, there won't be a problem. With just one person? Yes, with just one person. Bai Lin Luo nodded. The president wondered what kind of person could give Bai Lin Luo such confidence. Bai Lin Luo turned to leave, but his face instantly sank. When night fell, Bai Lin Luo stood on the dock with only Wang Xiaoyuan and Le Xiaohu beside him, looking at a boat that was slowly docking in the distance. The boat slowly docked, and a handsome young man in a green robe walked down with a strong warhorse in his hand. Brother Guan, you're here. Bai Lin Luo looked at the green-robed general. I've already prepared a banquet. We're just waiting to welcome you back. You're too polite. Guan Wenbao cupped his hands at Bai Lin Luo. I'm not very hungry. As soon as he finished speaking, his stomach growled. Fortunately, Guan Wenbao's face was a little red, so he didn't look shy. Haha, you're still so polite. Bai Lin Luo couldn't help but laugh. Okay, let's go. Bai Lin Luo specially prepared a truck for Guan Wenbao to park his Lisa. Okay, then I'll just have a bite. Guan Wenbao was a little embarrassed. He followed Bai Lin Luo into a pickup truck. This car, Guan Wenbao was a little dazed after getting in the car. He felt a little back in the past, when Li Fan was still a poor student. The conditions here are a little difficult, but it will get better. Bai Lin Luo guessed what Guan Wenbao was thinking, at least there's more freedom. It doesn't matter. Guan Wenbao said, when we first started, it was even more difficult than this. We didn't even have a car. Yeah, in the end, didn't we still develop quite well? Bai Lin Luo was very emotional. I really miss that time. Although we didn't have much money, everyone was still quite happy. Okay. Guan Wenbao leaned on the seat and closed his eyes to rest. Not long after he drove out, Guan Wenbao suddenly opened his eyes. What's wrong? Bai Lin Luo was smart and guessed that something must have happened. Guan Wenbao opened the window and looked outside. Someone is following us. Looks like it's the government. Bai Lin Luo glanced at the rearview mirror. They're probably thinking of ways to get rid of me. Okay, leave it to me. In the rearview mirror, 2 military off-road vehicles were driving over. The off-road vehicles were equipped with machine guns. Along with the dazzling headlights, the chain of bullets began to move. The bullets were like rain, flying toward Bai Linluo's car. Unknowingly, Guan Wenbao was standing on the roof of the pickup truck. He stretched out both of his hands, one hand holding the handle, the other hand pulling out a long blade, combining them together, and with a swing, a crescent moon blade appeared. He looked at the two off-road vehicles and jumped to the ground. Kill him. One of the off-road vehicles increased its horsepower and charged toward Guan Wenbao. Guan Wenbao stood there, unmoved. Facing the incoming off-road vehicle, he only raised his crescent moon blade. Half-moon flash. The off-road vehicle was directly cut in half by Guan Wenbao's blade. The other off-road vehicle had already run far away. Guan Wenbao whistled, and the back door of the truck was smashed open. Lisa let out a long whistle, jumped out of the truck, and ran to Guan Wenbao's side. Guan Wenbao got on his horse, rode it, and chased after the off-road vehicle. The off-road vehicle was driving very fast, but Lisa didn't lose out at all. Her hooves kept galloping, as if she was riding on a cloud. Soon, she caught up to the off-road vehicle and ran side by side with it. The machine gunner on the off-road vehicle turned his machine gun and aimed at Guan Wenbao. Guan Wenbao swept his crescent moon blade and instantly cut the machine gun in half. They always appeared sneakily and slipped away after being attacked by the enemy. The most dazzling ones were Guan Wenbao and Le Xiaohu. The two of them were like gods of war, killing non-stop in the crowd. There were not many government troops to begin with, and there were less than 1,000 of them left. Very soon, most of them were killed, and the rest began to raise the white flag to surrender. They were mercenaries to begin with, and some of them were even citizens of the island who had been recruited by the army. Now that the government army was being crushed, they did not want to work for the government. With almost no casualties, the government army was completely defeated. Under the protection of some personal guards, the new president hid in the command vehicle with a pale face, preparing to escape from the battlefield. However, Bai Linluo waved his hand, and Liu Xinnan shot an arrow. The arrow hit the car's tire, and the car immediately burst. It tilted to the side and crashed into a tree at the side. The car door was smashed, and the new president, secretary, and diplomat all fell out. They rolled on the ground in a sorry state. The mercenaries of Wolf Warrior immediately stepped forward, grabbed their arms, and pressed them to the ground. Chapter 746. In a dramatic decisive battle, Bai Linluo and the rest did not suffer any losses and captured the presidential palace. Bai Linluo felt a bit bored because this mission was not difficult at all. It would be great if there were some experts in the government army. Whether it was a mutant expert or a martial fighter expert, it would at least increase the fun of the challenge. He himself was also a bit conflicted. Although it was not challenging, at least there were no casualties on his side. Bai Linluo felt very conflicted. It was probably because after the prophet disappeared, it made him feel a sense of emptiness. Brother Guan, thank you for this time. When sending off Guan Wenbao, Bai Linluo was a bit reluctant and personally came to the dock to send off Guan Wenbao. At this moment, this Luofu island has completely changed owners and is now the Li family's name. When you go back, help me tell Li Fan that he will come and take a look when he has time. I will help him manage this island very well. I will. Guan Wenbao nodded and left Luofu Island with Lisa. Bai Linluo returned to the presidential palace, which is now his territory. The president of the resistance is standing in his office, waiting for him. Now, he is dressed in a police uniform and is already the commander of the guards here. Sir. The commander of the guards bowed to Bai Linluo. En. Bai Linluo sat down, and a lot of officers came to the office one after another. These are the members of the new government. Bai Linluo's mission is to build this Luofu Island. From today onwards, this is no longer the Luofu Island. Bai Linluo said, from today onwards, this is called Li Family Island. May I ask, sir, to name this island after a person's surname, what kind of system are we going to follow? Max, who is now also a commander, immediately asked. Constitutional monarchy. Bai Lin Luo said directly, "In the future, I will be the Prime Minister of Li Family Island, and Mr. Li Fan will be the Emperor of Li Family Island." Constitutional monarchy. When a few people heard this, they were shocked to death. Will this work? Susu couldn't help but ask. Don't worry, this island is firmly under our control. Bai Lin Luo had already begun to build an intelligence network. And for the people on this island, they don't care who their leader is. They only care about who can give them the best life. With that, Bai Lin Luo gave Susu a look. Susu nodded. We have 2 oil and gas fields on the sea. They're not very large. We can set up a company to exploit them and then sell them to other countries. However, shouldn't these resources belong to Huaxia? Although Le Xiaohu was young, he was quite intelligent. Hearing Bai Lin Luo and the others' discussion, he couldn't help but ask, won't we get beaten up if we casually mine? I wonder how many such small-scale oil and gas fields there are in China. Susu continued, if we want to develop, we must first use a wave. This island needs to survive without attracting the attention of the world. Well, most of it is still mainly aquatic products. Bai Lin Luo only left a large rear for Li Fan. We'll build on this side first. It won't be long before Liu Xinnan buys the ownership of this island. At that time, it won't be a problem for us to develop however we want. I think it's feasible. Susu nodded. As long as we get the ownership of the island, everything will be fine. The garrison commander felt depressed. This group of people could even get the ownership of the island. This was a real legal regime. On this kind of island, they were the local tyrants. Having just finished a war, the security of the island's residents must be very low. Bai Lin Luo continued, what we need now is to recuperate and strengthen the security of the island's residents. He glanced at the garrison commander. Do a good job of security. Don't let those lawbreakers do evil at this time. Well, don't worry. I've already sent 5 teams to specialize in daily security. The garrison commander nodded. We definitely won't let the island become chaotic. Okay. Currently, the population of our island is 120,000. Bai Lin Luo said, it's about the same as a county. Work hard and strive to let the island's population exceed 1 million. The old government left behind some funds. We can use them to build this island. The garrison commander suggested. In the resistance army, I got to know someone from another country. He has some achievements in construction. Why don't we hire him as the Minister of Construction? There are still a lot of facilities that need to be built on the island. What do you think? Sure, I'll wait for him in the room. Let him come find me. Bai Lin Luo nodded. Right now was the time to hire people. He welcomed anyone with talent. After the meeting, Bai Lin Luo still stayed in the office, waiting for the Minister of Construction. After 2 hours, a middle-aged Oriental man who looked a little down and out, but was still well-dressed, walked in. Hello, sir. My name is Honda Sakura. The other party spoke in Japanese-style English. Island nation? Bai Lin Luo looked at Honda Sakura a few more times. He seemed to be a little poor, but his clothes were still very exquisite. He was wearing a blue and black suit, and the fabric was not from the island. It should be the work of a master tailor in Italy. Yes, sir, you should be from China. Honda Sakura spoke in a gentlemanly manner. I am the butler of a famous family in the island, but my family was later involved in politics and was destroyed. I had to wander around various countries and finally came to this beautiful island. You have some experience in construction? Yes, I have some experience. I hope I can help you. Honda Sakura bowed. Bai Lin Luo thought for a moment, then asked. Then what do you think the island needs the most right now? I heard that you are preparing to exploit the oil and gas fields, which is very good. However, what the island needs the most right now is some infrastructure. We need to expand the power plant and the water plant. With these, we can build the next facilities. What are we going to build next? Residential buildings. Honda Sakura smiled. Right now, the accommodation environment on the island is too poor. We need more apartment buildings to raise the standard of living of the residents, and to attract more people to live here. Only with manpower can we develop other things. Good, your suggestion is not bad. Bai Linluo nodded, then you can come and try it out for a while. Thank you, sir. Honda Sakura bowed very solemnly. I will definitely assist you well. Bai Linluo's heart calmed down a little. Everything on the island was developing in the direction he wanted, but he did not know how Li Fan was doing. Counting the days, it should be Murong Bo's birthday, right? Chapter 747. Murong Bo's birthday had indeed arrived. Li Fan was already worried about it. Early in the morning, Taizhu had already prepared the car and gifts, and then woke up Li Fan from his sleep. Son-in-law, it's time to get up. Looking at the bright red clothes on Taizhu, Li Fan felt a little dizzy, and his sleepiness was gone. Are you getting married? If you don't marry, how can I get married? Taizhu's infinite shyness made Li Fan's heart tremble. No matter how high his state of mind was, when facing Taizhu, he was always at a disadvantage. This woman was poisonous. If you do this, I will not marry for life. Li Fan couldn't help but tell the truth. Son-in-law, you look so happy. It's so sad to say such words. Taizhu said shyly, I have long been ready to get married. Well, you get ready first. I will get up and tidy up. Li Fan stood up, and Taizhu followed him closely. Son-in-law, let me help you wash up. No need, I can do it myself. Li Fan laughed dryly. How can I do that? I have to serve the son-in-law well. Li Fan simply refused Taizhu's kindness. He looked around and asked, where are the two ladies? Second miss has gone home early, and eldest miss is waiting in the car. They are ready so early. Li Fan looked outside. The sky was still bright. Today is the master's birthday. This is a big event in Jianghu. There are a lot of things to do early in the morning. Taizhu said, there are a lot of rules in a big family. Can I not go? Li Fan asked tentatively. Taizhu took out a rope from his bosom. First miss said that if the young master doesn't comply, she'll kidnap the young master and bring him over. Fuck, Li Fan was speechless. This Murong Ying was really something. Okay, I'll go. Li Fan had agreed to it a long time ago. Although he really didn't want to go, he had no choice but to go at this time. He went to the bathroom to wash up. When he came out, Taizhu had already prepared the new clothes. This was a set of golden red arrow sleeves robe. The material was very exquisite, and one could tell at a glance that it was a high-grade product. After all, it was Murong's house. None of the things they used were cheap. When Li Fan put on the long robe with arrow sleeves, he looked more heroic. He straightened his clothes in front of the mirror and walked out of the room. When he came outside, Murong Ying's Bentley was already waiting there. You got up too late. After getting in the car, the first thing he got was the cynicism of his fiancée. Today, Murong Ying was wearing a fiery red cheongsam with a black phoenix embroidered on it, looking very noble and elegant. It must be a very happy thing for such a beautiful chief of martial arts to be her fiancé. Only Li Fan was a little different. You got up too early. Li Fan leaned on the chair and began to close his eyes to rest. Finding that Li Fan didn't look at her all the time, Murong Ying was a little unhappy and pouted. This guy, don't I have charm? She gently flipped her hair, as if doubting her charm. This damn man. How was your harvest this time when you sneaked out? Murong Ying suddenly asked. Not bad. Li Fan felt that it was better to ask Murong Ying about some things. He suddenly opened his eyes and looked at his beautiful fiancée. Do you know Imperial Consort Ju? Imperial Consort Ju? When Murong Ying heard this name, she pondered for a moment. Are you talking about Imperial Consort Ju of the Great Ming Dynasty, Ju Wanshu? Hey, you know her? Li Fan was a little surprised. Of course I know. The legendary chief of the Heaven Alliance, Liu Jinchan, is Ju Wanshu's descendant. Ah, Ju Wanshu's son? How is that possible? Ju Wanshu's sister is Empress Ju. Empress Ju once had a daughter who married a member of the Liu family during the chaos of war. And Liu Jinchan was born in this family. What the? Liu Jinchan and Zhu Wanshu had such a relationship. Speaking of which, the martial arts of the two of them seemed to be somewhat similar. Li Fan pondered for a moment. If Liu Jinchan's 9 Buddha Sutra was reversed, it would be the star power technique. To a certain extent, the star power technique was no different from the Vairocana Heart Sutra. They both absorbed the opponent's power for one's own use. Speaking of which, that Murong Bo also seemed to be practicing this kind of martial art in private. Hehe, what a so-called righteous sect. Right now, Li Fan had an indescribable disgust towards Murong Bo. This old bastard, he even had to celebrate his birthday for him. This was too fucked up. Speaking of which, this Zhu Wanshu was also a mysterious woman in history. Murong Villa, was well versed in the history of the pugilistic world. That's why I know such a secret. But how did you know? Murong Ying put on a doubtful expression. If I said that I met Imperial Consort Zhu, would you believe me? What did you say? Murong Ying leaned forward, almost pressing on Li Fan's body. Are you joking? No. Since you know Imperial Consort Zhu, then you should know her name, the undead evil Buddha, right? Impossible. Murong Ying absolutely did not believe. Although it's the undead evil Buddha, she has already been sealed in the dragon's cave. You know a lot. Li Fan looked at Murong Ying, who was close at hand. Can you explain? Murong family, used to be Liu Jinchan's protector. Murong Ying very frankly said, regarding the matter of Imperial Consort Zhu, Murong family, and Dongyi should know the best. I entered the Great Ming Dynasty's treasure. Li Fan told Murong Ying, inadvertently revived Imperial Consort Zhu. Murong Ying's face turned pale and sat back on her seat. This time, you really caused a big disaster. This was the first time Li Fan saw such a panicked expression on his fiancé's face. You are the Wulin Alliance's leader. What are you afraid of? Li Fan said, Zhu Wanshu, let me block her. You? Yes, in the tomb under the sea. I have already defeated her once. Li Fan's words made Murong Ying a little surprised. When I reach the level of a generation's master, I will no longer be afraid of that Zhu Wanshu. When she broke through the 8th level of martial arts and entered the level of a generation's master, Zhu Wanshu and Li Fan would no longer be in her eyes. The Zhu Wanshu you met is not at her peak. Murong Ying reminded Li Fan, when you meet her at her peak, you will know how terrible this witch is. Are you afraid? Me? Murong Ying thought for a moment and said, I just want to try, between me and her, who is the #1 in the world. Chapter 748. So that's the case. Li Fan looked at Murong Ying and asked, but why did you look so panicked just now? I was panicking not for me, but for the people in the martial arts world. Murong Ying gently held her chin and looked out of the window. The martial arts world is like duckweed now, and I don't know when it will collapse. As the leader of the martial arts world, isn't it normal for me to be worried about the affairs in the martial arts world? You care too much. You can't even take care of your own business. Li Fan couldn't help but remind her, think about Murong's family. You haven't even taken care of such a big mess yet. Daddy will naturally worry about the affairs of Murong's family. Murong Ying shrugged her shoulders. Even if I want to, I can't. What happens in the world of martial artists will be decided by the world of martial artists themselves. Li Fan said, everything in the world has its own rules, and it's the same for the martial arts world. What you said does make sense, but I'm still the leader of the martial arts world, not you. Li Fan couldn't refute Murong Ying's words and could only shrug his shoulders. You still have the cheek to criticize me? If you release Imperial Consort Zhu, there will be a bloodbath in the martial arts world again. Anyway, I'm about to become a big villain in the martial arts world. Li Fan laughed and continued, if I release another villain, I'll make up a pair. You can still laugh. Of course. Li Fan nodded and continued, speaking of which, the Heart Sutra of Mahavarokana is going to appear again. Do you feel nervous? What's there to be nervous about? It's just an evil technique. Murong Ying said in disdain. Li Wei's martial arts are evil too. I've never been afraid of him. I'll definitely surpass him within a year. Murong Ying was very domineering. Her words were not wrong at all. Li Fan believed her too. However, too many things could happen within a year. But, you know that the Vairocana Heart Sutra and the 9 Buddha Sutra are somewhat similar. Of course. When Liu Jinchan was cultivating the 9 Buddha Sutra, it was said that he was inspired by Ju Wanshu. I see. Li Fan felt that this chat was more meaningful. He didn't attend Murong's birthday party in vain. However, it seemed like these questions could be asked at home. There was no need for a birthday celebration at all. Apart from showing off, this old man's birthday celebration had no other meaning. This was what Li Fan thought. When we get to Murong's house, please try not to talk. Murong Ying knew Li Fan's temper, but she still reminded him, just take it as me asking you for a favor. Got it. I'm prepared. As Li Fan spoke, he stretched out his hand and poked his throat. Murong Ying blinked her eyes. Li Fan used the crane poking technique to poke her voice. About 4 hours later, Li Fan couldn't make a sound. This guy was really ruthless. In this way, he didn't have to bicker with Murong anymore. Murong Ying was actually a little touched. This was already not easy for Li Fan. Thank you. Murong Ying didn't say anything else. She would return this favor in the future. The Bentley drove very fast. Murong's house was in the suburbs of a city, a beautiful villa. It was also at this time that a city would become the center of the entire Jianghu. All the famous sects would send their representatives to celebrate Murong's birthday. The people from Sword Reliance should also come. Murong Ying glanced at Li Fan. You have to pay more attention to them when the time comes. Li Fan nodded and didn't make a sound. He couldn't make a sound now. He simply closed his eyes and began to adjust his breathing. He had just entered the 7th level, and his strength still needed to build a good foundation. Although Li Fan wanted to enter the 8th level as soon as possible, he heard that after he reached the 8th level, he would become very powerful. However, the realm couldn't be broken through overnight. Although he had forcefully broken through to the 8th level before, he had also gone berserk and lost his calm. This was the price of quickly improving his strength. To really practice martial arts well, he still had to practice step by step. The car stopped, and Murong's villa was next to it. Today, there were a lot of cars parked outside Murong's villa. It was really more lively than the new year. Li Fan followed Murong Ying out of the car. Immediately, there were a lot of Jianghu people pointing at them. Look, it's the chief of Wulin, so young and beautiful, if only she would like me, many young geniuses couldn't help but say. Stop dreaming. Don't you see who the person beside her is? Those people pointed at Li Fan. Who? He looks very young. Fool. This is Murong Ying's fiancé, little tyrant Li Fan. Little tyrant Li Fan? Ever since Murong Ying met Li Fan's name was already famous in Jianghu. Now that the title of little tyrant was spread out, it had weight. When they heard that Murong Ying's fiancé was little tyrant, many people had no choice but to back off. But there were still a lot of people who were itching to spar with Li Fan and defeat Li Fan to win Murong Ying's heart. Li Fan accompanied Murong Ying. Just as he was about to enter Murong's villa, a young genius from Tang's sect walked over. I heard that you defeated my junior brother. Why don't we take the opportunity to spar today? Before that Tang sect disciple could finish his words, Li Fan used the crane tapping technique and pressed on his acupuncture point. His blood vessels were blocked. That guy stood on the spot and couldn't move at all. He could only blink his eyes. I'm sorry. Today is my father's birthday. Li Fan doesn't accept any challenges from outsiders. Murong Ying said to the surrounding people. Although her voice wasn't loud, it was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. Li Fan and Murong Ying walked into Murong's villa. It was also crowded inside. All kinds of people from the pugilistic world were walking back and forth, busy offering their blessings to Murong Bo. The two of them directly passed through the courtyard and walked into the courtyard until they arrived at the hall. Murong Bo was also wearing a festive red coat today. He sat on a wooden armchair and accepted the worship of the experts from the various sects. Seeing Li Fan and Murong Ying walk in, Murong Bo's face lit up and he immediately waved at Murong Ying. "Look, my baby daughter is here. Come and sit." According to the rules of the Murong family, Murong Ying had the position of assistant. Li Fan planned to find a place to sit, but Murong Bo came over and pulled Li Fan to sit beside her. "Brother-in-law, there are many people today. You have to bear with it." Murong Bo could feel Li Fan's agitated mood. She gently patted Li Fan's hand and comforted him. "Heroes, you are all here today to give me, Murong Bo, face." After waiting for his daughter to come, Murong Bo cleared his throat and everyone quietened down. Chapter 749. Everyone was looking at Murong Bo, waiting to hear what he had to say. "Other than celebrating my birthday today, there's another important matter that I hope everyone can decide on. This isn't the place to talk. I've already set up a banquet. Everyone, please move to the banquet hall. We can talk while we eat." As he spoke, these people stood up and walked towards the Dragon Phoenix Hall. This Dragon Phoenix Hall was a place that Murong Villa used to entertain guests. It was very large. Li Fan estimated that it was about 500 square meters. There were at least 100 tables set up below. Many people had to have a side table. Murong Ying was still sitting in Murong Bo's assistant. It was obvious that her smile was also very forced. Murong Ari pulled Li Fan and sat beside her. They were at a table not far from Murong Bo. This table was filled with people from Murong family. Li Fan was more or less familiar with many of them. For example, Murong Du. Back then, Murong Du was extremely angry when she saw Li Fan. She couldn't wait to trample on Li Fan. But now, Murong Du looked at Li Fan as if she was looking at a plague. She couldn't wait to stay as far away from Li Fan as possible. A few elders from Murong family sat on the other side. They looked at Li Fan with different expressions. Some were disdainful, some were angry, and some were disgusted. None of them liked Li Fan. They all had a negative attitude. Jiang Feng was also there. As Murong Bo's last disciple, he was sitting at a table far away. Only servants could sit. And on some tables below, Li Fan also saw some familiar faces. There seemed to be people from the 4 major alliances. The people from Sword Alliance were here as expected. They were led by Night Rain Tower. He even winked at him. "Fuck, this guy, why do I feel like he's up to no good?" The people from Huashan were there too. Chen Junhua was sitting there. As for the 5 Tigers sect disciple Ku Chuanza, he was also sitting at a nearby table. He did not look at Murong Weibo. He probably only had eyes for his old enemy, Chen Junhua. Murong Bo chuckled. She held a glass of wine and smiled at the guests below. "Everyone, there's something else I want to talk about. It's been bothering me for a long time. Today is a good opportunity. I hope that everyone can help me study it together." The people below were all muttering in their hearts. What exactly was the matter that had to be brought up at this time? Murong Bo, this old fellow, what was he selling in his gourd? While these people were guessing, Murong continued, "This is about my daughter's marriage." Everyone was shocked. Wasn't Murong Ying's marriage already promised to Li Fan? Could it be that Murong Bo wanted to break the engagement? Murong Ying didn't know about this either. She was a bit shocked and looked at her father. "My little daughter has also reached the age of marriage." Murong Bo's words made everyone feel at ease. It turned out that he meant that Murong loved him. That was right. Murong was now a beautiful woman in her late 20s. According to the rules of the Jianghu, she should be betrothed to someone. There was no hurry to get married. At the very least, she had to find someone suitable. After all, Li Fan was just a commoner with no background. If Murong Mountain Villa wanted to continue to grow, it needed the help of a new family with a strong background. Marriage was the best way to do that. Everyone felt that there was nothing wrong with it. Only Murong loved it. She gently clenched her fists under the table. She was very unhappy. Li Fan felt the anger of Murong's love. He quietly held her little hand under the table. Murong Bo looked at her brother-in-law with some grievance. My daughter's birthday is on the 3rd day of the 12th month of the year. Murong Bo continued, at that time, I will set up a stage and set up 3 difficult questions. The heroes of the world, whoever can solve these 3 questions will be my, Murong Bo's, son-in-law. Many people were eager to try. They could not wait to participate in the competition. Murong Bo was a little restless. Her heart was flustered. Li Fan gently held her hand, signaling her to be at ease. If Murong Bo wanted to marry his sister-in-law, it would have to depend on whether he was willing or not. Murong Ying did not say anything. It seemed that she did not care about this kind of thing. Perhaps in her heart, her sister had already grown up. It was indeed time for her to find a suitable boyfriend. Villa Master Murong. At this time, Night Rain Lu suddenly spoke. Murong Bo looked at Night Rain Lu. He did not know whether he was happy or annoyed with this man. Murong Bo was very deep. He only raised his head and looked at Night Rain Lu. He smiled but did not say anything. It seemed that he was waiting for Night Rain Lu to continue. Villa Master Murong Bo is in the prime of his life. His martial arts are matchless. I have long heard about it. Night Rain Lu cupped his hands and said with a smile, and Villa Master Murong Bo's eldest daughter, Murong Ying, is a heroine among women. She is the leader of the martial arts world. But Li Fan is from the grassroots. If he wants to climb up to the high branch of Murong Bo, isn't it a bit inappropriate? Li Fan's expression turned cold. This Night Rain Lu really began to make his move. Whether it is appropriate or not, it will naturally be decided by my Murong Bo. There is no need for young Hero Yi to worry about it. Murong Bo spoke politely. It's not that I'm worried about it. Actually, I'm here to express my sincerity as the leaning sword smiling breeze. Night Rain Lu stood in front of the heroes and said loudly, I, Luo Shuewu, the leader of Sword Reliance, would like to marry young hero Li. Night Rain Lu, you are the commander of Sword Reliance. Murong Bo did not say anything. He just gave the Great Elder a look. The Great Elder immediately stood up, slapped the table and scolded. As the commander, you speak without propriety. How can I not propriety? How can you say this kind of thing in front of the heroes? What is your intention? The Great Elder asked sternly. This is a big matter. Why can't I say it in front of the heroes? Night Rain Lu did not flinch. He said word by word, moreover, young hero Li is not married yet. What I said, is it against human relations or against the rules? You quibble. I am not quibbling. I think that men and women should get married when they are grown up. Your Murong Bo has never put young hero Li in your eyes. But my Sword Reliance values him. Why can't you fight for it? Value? You are a commander. How can you say that? Then, I can say it. At this moment, a woman pushed the door open and entered. She was dressed in a plain white robe and carried a sword on her back. Her beauty was comparable to that of Murong Ying. For a moment, everyone in the restaurant was stunned. Murong Ying secretly clenched the armrest of the chair and stared at Luo Shuewu in front of her. No one knew what was flashing in her eyes. Uncle, I am Luo Shuewu. I am here to wish you a happy birthday. There were a few faces behind Luo Shuewu. Li Fan was a little surprised. The 4 heavenly kings were all here. Jin Jiumao, who was always close to Luo Shuewu and disdained men. Zhon Xiaotian, who was dressed in golden armor and was full of heroic spirit. And Guo Mingming, who was silly and licked his fingers while walking. Chapter 750. The 4 heavenly kings had gathered together. Niece, what a grand show. Murong Bo stood up, still holding a glass of wine, and looked at the several people who were walking towards him, unmoved. Although he didn't seem to be moved, Li Fan knew that Murong Bo must be angry in his heart. He was not broad-minded. Luo Shuewu's move would definitely anger this old man. Murong Bo had the strength of the best in the world, but she did not have the broad-mindedness of the best in the world. Uncle, would you like to eat a drumstick? Guo Mingming took out a drumstick from his trousers and handed it to Murongbo. Guo Mingming was absolutely kind, but Murongbo did not think so. Yi Jian's people were here to humiliate her. Today is my birthday banquet. Niece, you brought people here to make trouble. You are not giving me face. How can that be? You are a leading figure in the martial arts world, and I am just a junior in the martial arts world and your niece. I still have to give you face. Luo Xuewu stood there, and she was also the focus of the audience. The White Queen Luo Xuewu and the leader of the martial arts world, Murong Ying. The two great beauties in the martial arts world gathered together, which really made the Dragon and Phoenix Hall more glorious. Many men murmured in their hearts, who do you think is better? These two beauties are both superb and stunning. Since you are here to celebrate my birthday, find a place to sit down. Murongbo held back her temper and was still looking for a way out for everyone. However, Yi Jian was not so easy to get rid of, especially Luo Xuewu. She had just been released from the ice, and she was always holding back her anger. She was ready to do something big. Come, bring up Yi Jian's birthday gift. Luo Xuewu clapped her hands, and 4 disciples of Yi Jian immediately came from behind. The 4 people carried a sedan chair with a turtle statue on it. This is the longevity turtle. I wish you a long life and longevity as long as heaven. Luo Xuewu said loudly. Everyone's expressions changed. This so-called longevity tortoise didn't sound good at all. Niece, I see that you've become much bolder and more temperamental now that you've become the leader of this alliance. Murongbo finally couldn't hold it anymore. He frowned and slammed the small glass into the table in front of him. After the Heaven Alliance, there were some so-called alliance conferences. But everyone knows that I, Murongbo, have never put these pesky league conferences in my eyes. But I, Murong, gave them some face, but they didn't give me face. Then don't blame me, Murong, for being heartless. Uncle, you always like to beat around the bush. Luo Xuewu was unmoved. She looked at the supreme martial artist in front of her and said, we are all people of Jianghu. If you have something to say, just say it. Why do you have to beat around the bush? The surrounding people were already whispering to each other. Were they going to start a fight? The relationship between Murongbo and the 4 major alliances had always been very stiff. In the past, the 4 major alliances would give Murong some face. But today, it seemed that it had reached a critical point. Murongbo didn't continue to say anything. Instead, he gave a look to the side. At this time, a handsome man in soft armor who had been sitting next to him stood up. Luo Xuewu, don't be too presumptuous. Everyone looked towards the direction of the voice. This man was an expert of the White Tiger Hall of the Central Plains. His name was Wei Jun. This Wei Jun was also a general-level expert of the White Tiger Hall. He was usually a man of few words, but today he took the initiative to speak. How strange. Everyone looked at Wei Jun, waiting to hear what he was going to say next. The enemy of the 4 major alliances is the Devil Cult. Wei Jun didn't disappoint and continued, naturally, we should join forces to fight against the enemy together. And what kind of person is Villa Master Murong? He led the elites of Murong Villa to fight against the Devil Cult. We will naturally surround him and do our best. What a nice way to put it. Luo Xuewu nodded. To put it nicely, we're called thugs. To put it bluntly, we're called dogs. Luo Xuewu, you're too presumptuous. Wei Jun's expression turned stern. The true energy in his body erupted, and his hair stood on end. Could it be that you want the 4 major alliances to start a war? Start a war? Sure. Luo Xuewu didn't show any fear. I, the hero of Yi Jian, am unparalleled in the world. When have I ever been afraid of anyone? Your White Tiger Hall of the Central Plains has been the accomplice of a villain. You've been a dog for Murongbo for so many years, and you've hidden so deeply. Now it's time to jump out and bite people for him. Luo Xuewu, what do you mean by that? Without waiting for Wei Jun to speak, Murongbo was already somewhat angry. Are you declaring war on me? Murongbo. Luo Xuewu's voice rose by an octave. She looked at the leading figure of the martial arts world opposite her with anger in her eyes, Last time you sent people to capture 2 of my disciples and used them to practice. Do you think I, Yi Jian, can't find out? It's time for us to settle this score now. Luo Shuewu's words caused a great uproar. Murongbo caught people of Yi Jian to practice. For so many years, there were indeed some martial arts masters who inexplicably disappeared in Jianghu. But weren't they all killed by the people of the devil cult? Nonsense. Murongbo roared angrily. Luo Shuewu, you've made a big fuss. How dare you pour such black water on me? What are your intentions? You should ask the devil cult if you, Yi Jian, have lost any masters. Why are you asking me, Murongbo? Villa Master Murong, you know best in your heart whether you did it or not. As Luo Shuewu spoke, she glanced at Li Fan, young hero Li. This family is a group of deceiving people. Do you want to marry them? Li Fan was speechless now. He looked at Luo Shuewu and couldn't say a word. Although he really didn't like Murongbo, this old dog, it was naturally not Luo Shuewu's turn to decide who he wanted to fall in love with and marry. Li Fan, to think that I thought you were a little heroic. Jin Jiumo looked at Li Fan and snorted coldly. Now it seems that you are also a person who tries to curry favor with the powerful. That's enough. Murong Ying finally spoke. No matter what the reason is, if you want to kidnap the bride, you should ask me first. Cousin, long time no see. You still have the same temper. Luo Shuewu looked at Murong Ying and said. You haven't changed either. You are still so presumptuous. Murong Ying looked at her cousin and said, if there is any grudge between us, we can solve it privately. Why do you have to involve my Murong family? Cousin, you are too naive. Luo Shuewu said, I don't know the true face of Mount Lu because I am in this mountain. I have my own eyes. I will see what the truth is. As soon as Murong Ying finished speaking, Murongbo waved her hand and said, stop talking. People of Jianghu should do things of Jianghu. Since your Yi Jian wants to start a war with my Murong villa, let's see who is better. As Murongbo spoke, the true energy in her body surged again. However, Li Fan stood up and silently walked between Murongbo and Luo Shuewu, stopping her. Murong Ying frowned. This Li Fan finally couldn't sit still. Chapter 751. Under everyone's gaze, Li Fan stood in front of Murongbo. Everyone stared at him, intending to see what this man was going to do. Although he was the little tyrant, with his current strength, it was still too early for him to fight against the supreme martial artist, Murongbo. Li Fan, now that you have grown up, do you want to be the enemy of my Murong family? The great elder stared at Li Fan and shouted with a strong front. But Li Fan shook his head. Li Fan, get lost. Murongbo also scolded, but Li Fan shook his head again. He just didn't speak. Everyone didn't know what he was going to do. Can you say something? The great elder looked at Li Fan angrily, but Li Fan didn't speak. Li Fan temporarily lost his voice, unable to speak, just stood there. It seems that today, you are going to protect these people of leaning on the sword and laughing at the breeze. After living with him for so long, Murong Ying already understood some of Li Fan's thoughts. She asked on behalf of Li Fan. Li Fan nodded. Good. Murongbo actually nodded. Dare to protect the enemy in front of me, you have some gut. A mere Li Fan also dares to be presumptuous in front of Villa Master Murong. A strong man stood up. I am the leader of Murong Villa's 5 Dragon Gate. Villa Master Murong, there is no need for you to beat him up, let me do it. He was about 40 years old, his temples were bulging. At first glance, one could tell that he had achieved great success in inner force. Among the martial artists, although it was not the older one was, the higher the inner force was. But the older one was, the more profound the inner force was. This was normal. Li Fan didn't speak, just stood there motionlessly. At this time, the 5 Dragon Sect's sect leader got the tacit approval. He leaped up and slapped down at Li Fan. Li Fan stood there, unmoved. Just like that, he looked on helplessly as the 5 Dragon Sect's sect master jumped in front of him. But just as the gate master's palm was about to land on Li Fan's forehead, Li Fan suddenly stretched out a hand and grabbed the gate master's arm. He swung his arm and grabbed the sect master's arm. Borrowing his strength, he smashed the sect master to the ground. Bang! The sect leader was smashed until he was dizzy. Li Fan added another punch and knocked him out. Everyone was stunned. Although the sect master of the 5 Dragon Gates was not very famous in the Jianghu, his skills were still obvious to all. How could an expert at the peak of perfection be killed in an instant? Li Fan, this young junior, actually had such strength. Impossible. How did this person practice martial arts? His progress was too fast. Sure enough, his wings have hardened. Murong's eyes narrowed. Jiang Feng, it's been a year. Now is the time. Come on. Jiang Feng took a few steps forward steadily and stood in the middle of the banquet hall, facing Li Fan. At this time, Li Fan was no longer the young man from a year ago. He had grown quite a bit now. He was 1.79 meters tall, close to 1.8 meters. Jiang Feng was 1.81 meters tall, a little taller than Li Fan, but not by much. The two of them were almost at the same level. Jiang Feng looked at Li Fan and smiled. The original 1 year has passed, but it's been a long time. It's been almost 2 years. There was something indescribable in Jiang Feng's eyes. In these 2 years, you've grown a lot, and I'm not bad either. Today, we'll see who's better. Li Fan still didn't speak and just nodded his head. After that, he took a step back and made a gesture. He looked at Jiang Feng and made a please gesture. Jiang Feng put one hand behind his back, and the other pointed at Li Fan, extending 2 fingers. Acupoint hand. This was a martial art passed down in Jiang Feng's family. Now that it had been trained by Murong, it should have become a lot more powerful. Li Fan kicked the chair next to him. The chair rolled and flew, heading straight for Jiang Feng. Jiang Feng didn't retreat at all. He even took a step forward and poked the chair with 2 fingers. Bang! The chair was smashed. Jiang Feng looked at Li Fan in front of him with a little pride in his eyes. Don't look down on me. Use your full strength. Jiang Feng said. Otherwise, it would be boring, wouldn't it? Li Fan bounced his feet and executed the monkey steps, instantly appearing behind Jiang Feng. However, Jiang Feng didn't turn his head and directly poked with his right hand. Li Fan stretched out his palm and blocked. His palm contained true qi and was like steel, but it still hurt from Jiang Feng's 2 fingers. However, Jiang Feng found an opportunity and continued to poke with his fingers, aiming for Li Fan's vital points. Li Fan used the crane hand and kept slapping away Jiang Feng's fingers. Jiang Feng used his right hand, and Li Fan only used his right hand as well. His left hand was in his pocket. The two of them were like performing acrobatics, one attacking and the other defending, dazzling the crowd and making them unable to take it all in. Both of them were rarely seen young talents. With their strength, they would be the mainstays of a great sect in the pugilistic world. They might even be the future successors of the sect leader. However, these 2 people were born in the Murong family. It was truly enviable. Look at how many young experts were born in the Murong family. There was already a Murong Ying in the family, and there was still Jiang Feng and Li Fan outside. Murong Villa was the #1 family in the pugilistic world. There was definitely a reason why they could become the #1 family in the pugilistic world. If Murong Ying and the others grew up, perhaps, in the pugilistic world, there would no longer be a match for Murong Villa. Terrifying. Fortunately, they had internal strife. It was probably because of this reason that many people were secretly supporting the smiling sword breeze. Li Fan's palm was already faintly numb. At this time, he began to miss Subhuti. If only this guy was here. This guy's invincible golden body was just right to deal with Jiang Feng's acupoint. Jiang Feng suddenly extended his other hand and attacked Li Fan, displaying the acupoint to the extreme. Jiang Feng's hand struck out again and again, as though he was tearing the air apart, creating a series of wind-breaking sounds. And Li Fan also took out his left hand from his pocket, displaying the crane's hand to the extreme, clashing with Jiang Feng's acupoint. The two people's martial arts were really powerful. The banquet hall was filled with violent gusts of wind. Many of the pugilistic world's juniors were mesmerized watching. If only they were half as powerful as them. The two people continued to attack and defend. For a moment, the two of them were unable to determine the winner. But at this time, Jiang Feng's eyes flashed a trace of complacency. Li Fan seemed to sense that something was wrong. At this time, Jiang Feng's leg kicked straight at Li Fan's lower abdomen. Shadowless kick. When Jiang Feng kicked, his shoulder did not move at all. It was impossible to see that he had any intention of kicking. This was the real shadowless kick. Li Fan's internal organs were injured. He took a step back and spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 752. Hihi, seems like you are just SOSO for the past 2 years. Jiang Feng could not help but ridicule. Seems like I trained hard for 2 years in vain. It's too easy to win against you. With that, he continued to poke with his fingers, and at the same time, took the opportunity to kick. Li Fan's crane hand was already barely able to defend against the acupuncture point, and it was basically impossible to defend against Jiang Feng's kick. Especially when Jiang Feng's kicks were all shadowless kicks, and every time he kicked, Li Fan did not even have time to prepare. It was every martial artist's reflex to sense the opponent's habit of sparring. Even if Li Fan knew that he should go against his reflex, he could not do it. Li Fan suddenly retreated 3 steps, and then both of his hands were at his waist, and he pushed forward. Dragon Spitting Pearl. Li Fan's hands pushed out 2 chi pearls, and the 2 chi pearls intertwined in the air, forming an even stronger chi pearl, and went straight for Jiang Feng. Jiang Feng frowned. He did not expect Li Fan to have such a method. He poked the chi pearl with 2 fingers, and the pearl immediately exploded. Rumble. The strong pressure directly pushed Jiang Feng's body out, and in the blink of an eye, he fell more than 5 meters away. Jiang Feng was in a sorry state, and there was a lot of dust on his clothes. He frowned, and looked at Li Fan, his eyes slightly complicated. It seems like I've underestimated you. Li Fan did not say anything. Why are you not saying anything? Are you looking down on me? Jiang Feng frowned. He seemed to be in a bad mood, but Li Fan still did not say anything. You brat, you have guts. Jiang Feng was angry. He suddenly leaped forward, and both of his hands poked towards Li Fan. His speed increased by a few notches. But Li Fan was already prepared. He crossed his arms, and the Great War God popped out from his back, not giving Jiang Feng any chance to get close to him. The Great War God's arms were very long, and with one slap, Jiang Feng was sent flying. Jiang Feng raised his head, and frowned at the tall Great War God. Everyone in the hall was dumbfounded. What is this thing? Could the release of true chi achieve such an effect? Could it be that it was turning nothingness into reality? No, turning nothingness into reality should be a more realistic effect. For example, Murong Ying's cherry blossom sword aura was so real. Great War God, I've heard of him before. Jiang Feng had also inquired about Li Fan's actual situation. Knowing that you have such a kung fu, I have long been prepared. As Jiang Feng spoke, he took 2 steps back, out of the range of the war god's attack. At the same time, his body began to circulate true chi, then exploded, and then condensed again, forming a coat that covered his body, gathering chi and essence. Li Fan's eyes lit up. This Jiang Feng actually learned Long Tang's moves. Interesting. In an instant, Jiang Feng's strength had increased immeasurably. He pointed 2 fingers at Li Fan from a distance. Li Fan almost subconsciously tilted his forehead. Something brushed past his forehead and hit the pillar behind him. Boom. A hole was directly hit on the pillar. Light shone through the hole and shone on Li Fan's face. After the gathering chi and essence, this guy's acupuncture point hand could even hit people through the air. Awesome. Li Fan could not help but praise Jiang Feng. He was indeed a respectable opponent. Watch this match. Luo Xuewu reminded the 4 heavenly kings, it will benefit you a lot. In fact, there was no need for her to remind them. Every martial arts expert was watching this kind of battle without blinking. This kind of battle was too rare to see. After the gathering qi and essence, Jiang Feng became even more powerful. The acupuncture point hand he used could no longer be seen, it was as fast as lightning. However, Li Fan also retracted the Great War God and turned it into a golden armor. Wearing it on his body, he was actually able to forcibly block Jiang Feng's attack. However, a finger mark appeared on his true qi armor. It would not be long before it was broken. I have seen your golden armor. It won't be long before it will be broken. Jiang Feng was full of confidence. He did not know that the battle between the two had already dazzled the eyes of the surrounding people. Only Murong Bo did not put these two people's martial arts in his eyes. After all, he was the supreme martial artist. The martial arts of these two people were not worth mentioning to him. Jiang Feng, directly use your unique skill. Murong Bo ordered. Yes, master. Jiang Feng responded, and then the brilliance on his body became a bit brighter. The original silver-white brilliance suddenly turned black, and Jiang Feng's pair of pupils also turned blood red. One with the heart and demon. Li Fan understood that this was Jiang Feng's real strength. One of the three great martial arts talents, one with the heart and demon. Humph. Jiang Feng looked at Li Fan and suddenly snorted. A terrible murderous aura burst out from his body, and his figure disappeared instantly. The hair on Li Fan's back trembled. He almost subconsciously lay down on the ground. Bang! A burst of air exploded above Li Fan's head. Jiang Feng's two fingers missed, and the air in front of him directly exploded. If these two fingers were to poke Li Fan's body, his body would probably be poked with two huge bloody holes. Li Fan supported himself with both hands on the ground, and with a spirit-toed saw, he jumped to the ceiling. His feet sucked on the ceiling, and he hung upside down. He looked at Jiang Feng solemnly. Jiang Feng's ability was indeed strong. He could fuse with his own heart demon, and there were no side effects. Unlike Li Fan, every time he activated his heart demon, he would be dominated by the heart demon, unable to control his body and consciousness. Jiang Feng's expression was cold, but his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He suddenly looked at Li Fan, and poked the top of his head with two fingers. Li Fan took a step back, and two transparent holes appeared in the ceiling. There were many cracks around the holes, spreading more than 10 meters away. The current Jiang Feng could kill with a flick of his finger. Li Fan dodged Jiang Feng's attack, but suddenly landed in front of him. In that instant, Li Fan activated his strongest state, Divine Dragon General. At this moment, Jiang Feng's strength was enough for him to take out all his trump card. In an instant, Li Fan's entire aura changed. The surrounding people looked at him as if they were looking at a god that descended from the sky. Even Murong Bo could not help but be somewhat moved at this moment. Jiang Feng also sensed a trace of danger, and both hands poked towards Li Fan together. But Li Fan's movements were even faster. His palm struck Jiang Feng's chin from the bottom up. Rising Dragon Strike. This move directly sent Jiang Feng flying high up, directly smashing the ceiling above his head, and then falling to the ground. Li Fan instantly followed up, and a kick landed on Jiang Feng's head. Jiang Feng's body spun, smashing 3 pillars, and finally smashing into a distant wall. Smoke and dust rose. Li Fan slowly retracted his right leg, and stood there, looking at Jiang Feng who was embedded in the wall. Chapter 753. Activating the Divine Dragon General's stance, Li Fan once again suppressed Jiang Feng. However, after Jiang Feng activated the heart and demon unity, his body's endurance was strengthened once again. After being attacked by Li Fan so many times, although he suffered some injuries, the pain was greatly reduced. He could still push away the surrounding stones as if nothing happened and walked towards Li Fan again. I underestimated you. Jiang Feng looked at Li Fan opposite him. Not only him, but everyone was looking at Li Fan. At this time, this young man's combat power was beyond everyone's imagination. This kind of strength was almost on the way to becoming a grandmaster. How old was he? How many years had he practiced martial arts? Was it possible to train to such an expert in such a short time? If this was possible, then how were they, the martial artists who had not reached the peak after training for decades, going to live? Wouldn't it be looking for a big stone to kill themselves? Li Fan still did not say a word. He just stood there and stretched out his hand to Jiang Feng. Jiang Feng's feet bounced and instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. At the same time, 2 fingers poked at Li Fan's eyebrows. As fast as lightning. Li Fan leaned to one side, and the ground was poked out a hole. At the same time, he stretched out his right hand and grabbed Jiang Feng's wrist. Subdue bear. With a grappling skill, Li Fan grabbed Jiang Feng's body and smashed him to the ground. But Jiang Feng was unmoved. He raised his other hand and used 2 fingers to dig into Li Fan's eyes. Li Fan hurriedly stepped back to avoid being poked blind. And his following killer move was also forced to stop. He could only watch Jiang Feng stand up again with cold eyes. Jiang Feng adjusted his state and re-examined Li Fan. Jiang Feng seemed to be thinking about what kind of attack Li Fan had. This was the first time he saw this divine dragon general's stance. And Li Fan's body was already covered with golden armor, defending against Jiang Feng's sneak attack in all directions. Jiang Feng, take this. Murong Bo pulled out his own sword and threw it to Jiang Feng on the opposite side. Jiang Feng stretched out his hand and took the sword in his hand. Thank you, master. As Jiang Feng spoke, he raised his sword and aimed it at Li Fan. I'm sorry, Li Fan. My real killer move is actually the Murong sword technique. As he spoke, Jiang Feng swung his sword, and the sword chi instantly flew up, slicing towards Li Fan along the ground. Li Fan's right foot suddenly swung out, and like a battle axe, it directly split apart the sword energy. Li Fan snorted coldly to express his disdain, but 2 streaks of crimson sword energy suddenly came toward him. This sword chi contained demonic chi, making it even more powerful. Li Fan frowned. He immediately drew out his extraordinary sword from his waist and shook it into a black sword. He threw the sword, and the black sword turned into a black light, instantly piercing through the opponent's sword chi. Dang! Jiang Feng swung his sword again, and the long sword blocked Li Fan's sword. Li Fan stretched out his hand, and the black sword that was blocked flew back into Li Fan's hand. Li Fan threw the long sword in front of him, and separated his hands. 7 golden sword images were separated. Yo, 7-star sword. Seeing Li Fan's sword technique, Night Rain Tower's eyes lit up. However, Li Fan's 7-star sword looked even more domineering, as if it contained his special chi. Jiang Feng threw out more sword chi, and again, destroyed Li Fan's sword images. But when the smoke dispersed, a black sword was floating above his head. Jiang Feng was shocked. Even if he did not feel pain, he still felt fear. He knew this move, God-slaying. If Li Fan's lightning struck him, he would really be happy. Jiang Feng wanted to dodge, but a lightning bolt had already struck down from the sword. Jiang Feng did not dare to be negligent. He held the sword, which contained his scarlet chi, and collided with Li Fan's golden lightning bolt. Bang! The entire banquet hall trembled, the power of the 2 quickly spread out, forming a ripple, and in the blink of an eye, it spread extremely far. All the martial artists present had no choice but to use their chi to protect their bodies. And the walls of the hall were completely smashed. Fortunately, the ceiling had already been smashed, otherwise, at this moment, everyone would have been crushed to the ground by the collapsed ceiling. Li Fan and Jiang Feng separated far away, and the 2 of them stood on a street lamp in the courtyard. Li Fan stood there, and the extraordinary sword floated in front of him. Jiang Feng stepped on the street lamp, holding Murong Bo's sword with both hands, and stared at Li Fan. The 2 of them did not hide their strength, and both of them used their true strength to compete. Jiang Feng was shocked at Li Fan's growth. In just 2 short years, he, a martial arts layman, could actually grow to such a high level. As for Li Fan, he was also very surprised. Was Murong Bo so powerful? He had just beaten Jiang Feng up, but after receiving his devilish training, he actually improved so much. The two of them looked at each other, waiting for the other to make the first move, and then looking for the other's flaws. Sometimes, the first to make a move would not win. Whoever made the first move would reveal a flaw. Li Fan was not stupid, he was waiting for an opportunity. Everyone present was a martial artist, so they naturally knew the rules of the martial arts competition. Therefore, they did not say a word, and waited for the two of them to decide who was better. Time was also slipping away minute by minute, and because Li Fan and Jiang Feng were in their strongest state, their true qi was also rapidly being consumed. If this went on, it would not only be a competition of patience, but also internal strength. Jiang Feng's heart and demon unity seemed to consume more energy. He finally could not hold it in any longer, and directly carried his sword. His entire body turned into a sword light, and swept towards Li Fan. This move, Li Fan felt as if he had seen it before. Li Fan hurriedly jumped up and into the air. And the street lamp under him had already been cut into two in an instant. Jiang Feng landed on the ground, glanced at Li Fan, and then with a bounce of his body, turned into a black and red sword light, and flew straight towards Li Fan in the air. Swallow 3 splashes. Li Fan's body shifted in the air, and narrowly avoided Jiang Feng's sword light. However, the front of Li Fan's clothes was cut open. This sword light was very powerful. Li Fan used 1000 Catty Fall, and landed back on the ground. He turned his head to look for Jiang Feng above him. But at this moment, Jiang Feng ran to God knows where, and disappeared without a trace, as if he was hiding in the dark, waiting to sneak attack Li Fan. Li Fan filled his surroundings with true qi, forming a 3-meter radius around him. This way, he could feel the surrounding true qi, and could temporarily act as a radar. But Jiang Feng's speed was too fast. Only then did Li Fan's true qi feel the fluctuation. He dodged in a sorry state, but the golden armor on his left arm had already cracked, and a stream of blood spurted out. Li Fan sealed the blood vessels on his arm, endured the pain, and frowned, continuing to look for traces of Jiang Feng. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.